Rain pounds against the tent. Outside, a crowd of undead presses in. Someone slams on the door, begging to be let in. He shouts his name, Zhong Hang. Inside, everyone hides. 3 guys brace the door. One asks what they're supposed to do. A blonde girl yells at them to open it. Zhong Hang is their classmate. They can't abandon him. She's the class representative. If anything happens, she'll take responsibility. Leaving him out there is the same as killing him. One of the guys argues he's probably already been bitten. She doesn't back down. The guy grits his teeth, turns to Yubari, and says he'll open the door. Yubari should shut it the second Zhong gets in. He starts counting before Yubari can answer. Everyone tenses 3. He twists the knob, and Yubari gets shoved by the guy beside him, who's already turned. The room erupts. The protagonist shouts that Yubari's infected. The blonde tries to run. People scream. The protagonist throws up his arm to block a bite. Teeth sink in. Pain tears through him. Memories flood his mind. That day he lost his arm. The creature swarmed in. The city fell. The world ended. A hooded man asks if he's certain. A doctor watches. There are only 2 choices left. They press the button. He's back the moment before the door opens. After surviving an entire apocalypse with 1 arm, he's returned to the beginning. Outside, Zhong's pounds on the door again. The blonde Roxy demands they open it. She's still the representative. She won't abandon her classmates. Ye stares at her. She looks younger. She snaps at them. Are they deaf? If they don't open the door, they're killing him. Ye feels it settle in. His plan worked. He's back to change everything. He calls out to her. What if Zhong's been bitten? How will she handle that? She says no one saw him get bitten. There's no proof. And as representative, she'll take full responsibility. Ib smiles. Fine. Then she can open the door herself. Rue freezes. The other girls stare at him. She shouts that he's not a real man. Making a woman do it. He fires back. Easy to preach when you're not risking anything. In the end, she's just a hypocrite. She screams at him to shut up. Says she's not afraid. Calls them cowards. Tells them to move. She grabs the knob and turns it. The door flies open. Zhang Hang crashes in. Already transformed, chaos explodes again. The door slams to the floor. Rushi scrambles up and finds the infected Zhang Hang inches from her face. He lunges. Everyone bolts. Rushi grabs the guy beside her, trembling. Then she shoves him forward, yelling at him to protect her. A foot slams into her ribs. Yay! He kicks her straight toward Zhang Hang. The zombie grabs her by the waist, teeth snapping for her ear. Someone drives a screwdriver into its head. The skull bursts. Blood sprays everywhere. Ye watches with a thin, cold smile. Ruashi tumbles outside, still tangled with the corpse. She looks up at Ib, begging him to save her. He remembers his past life, how she ruined him. He picks up the fallen door. She asks what he's doing. He swings it shut, locks her outside. Then he turns to the others. Why weren't you closing the door? Panicked, the group decides to block the door. They drag over furniture, boxes, ladders, anything they can find, and pile it high. Outside, Ruoxi keeps pounding, demanding to know what they're doing. She begs for help, shouting that she's the class representative and can't be treated like this. No one moves to help her. The others just keep stacking the barricade. Ye watches in silence. Time passes. The rain stops. Eventually, they realize they can't hear Ruaki anymore. Now the room feels different. Everyone's afraid of Ib. He used to be the kind one. So why does he feel like a stranger? He glances around. The girls are crying. The guys avoid his eyes. Why do you all look scared of me? He asks. They quickly deny it. The blonde boy thanks him instead. If Yib hadn't kicked Ruaki, he would have been shoved out as bait. The mood shifts. People start saying Ruaki was selfish, filthy. She would have sacrificed anyone to save herself. Ib smiles faintly. If you're all so brave, he says. Let's open the door. I want to take a look outside. They hesitate. Why would he go out there? He shrugs. Maybe kicking her was too much. He just wants to see how she's doing. They protest. There are zombies everywhere. Ib snaps, telling them to move. Shaken, they clear the barricade and pull the door open. He steps out onto the grass. Morning light spills over the field. No sign of Ruashi, no Zhong Hang, no zombies. Behind him, the door slams shut. From inside, they shout that they can't let a crazy murderer back in. He'll kill them all. Ye doesn't even turn around. He walks calmly across the field. Inside, they whisper that he's lost his mind. Then the blonde boy stiffens. A female zombie stands directly in front of a bay. He keeps walking toward her. She notices him. He smiles and tightens his grip on his tool. Suddenly, he charges. The zombie barely reacts before he caves in. Her skull. He doesn't stop. He drives her into the ground. Inside, they're convinced now. He's insane. But Abe is breathing hard. Even for him, that took effort. He crouches by the corpse and digs something out. A small pearl-like object. He smiles. An energy stone, the source of the apocalypse, and the key to surviving it. A footstep sounds behind him. He turns. An old zombie lurches closer. Ye grabs his tool and rushes it. Moments later, it's down too. Inside, one girl nearly throws up. The blonde boy can't understand it. This is the same coward he knew. How did he change so completely? Whispers spread. He must be pretending. No one transforms like that overnight. One boy suggests letting him back in. He's strong. He can kill zombies. Others refuse. He's a lunatic. He might kill them next. Suddenly, the window shatters. Ye peers in. You guys still in there? He grins. Come out. Killing zombies is pretty fun. They tremble. Then someone screams. There's something behind him. A zombie. Lunges. Ye doesn't panic. He glances back, lifts his foot, and kicks it square in the chest. He grips the tool again and smashes the zombie's jaw. It drops. Another body hits the ground. The group watches from inside, frozen. Ye wipes blood off his face. No one says a word. He notices them staring. No idea if this stuff infects you, he says. I wanted to stick with you guys, but it's too risky. I don't want to hurt anyone. Then he turns to leave. Hope you all make it. They wonder if he's really walking away. He crosses campus alone, climbs the stairs. This is how it started. Day 1, half the population infected. Government, economy, society gone. Creatures multiply. Fear spreads faster. Professor Zenhan called it the Dark Era. In his last life, he cut off his own arm to survive that first day. 15 years of hunger and torture followed until he met the mechanic, the man who sent him back. Now he walks calmly through empty streets. People peek from hiding. Some think he's fearless. Others say if he's out alone, he must be dangerous. He ignores them and heads toward a park. Zombies stand scattered across it, motionless. They don't react until he turns his back. Then they charge. Someone watching shouts that the kid's dead. An old man mutters, "It's insane to look for food in a world like this." Ye just smiles. One swing skull crushed. Another down. A hard slam finishes the third. The onlookers can't believe it. Where did he get that nerve? Behind a curtain. A girl watches too. Sooner or later, I'll kill that bastard. She mutters. After 3 kills, Ye's breathing hard. Then he hears wings, birds scattering. 3 more zombies close in. Too many. One crawls toward him. He bolts. The earlier noise must have drawn a horde. From another house, someone scoffs at the kids running straight at them. Ye spots a convenience store and pounds on the door. He looks into the camera. Open up. I'm being chased. An old man inside calls it ridiculous. No one would open the door for some random kid. The gate starts rising anyway. A zombie rounds the corner. It leaps. He cracks its head midair. An old woman staggers in next. He drops her too. He dives under the half-open gate and rolls inside. The zombies slam against the door, but he's safe for now. And the place is stacked. Supplies everywhere. A solid base behind a computer desk. A little girl watches him. Next door, inside a nightclub, Spank watches through binoculars. Says the kid's killing everything. The Mohawk guy tells Brother Centipede, a student, just wiped out 6 zombies alone. Brother Centipede laughs. Women draped around him. Then they're weaker than I thought. If a student can handle it, we'll have no trouble. Back in the store. Yay. Bay smiles. He looks at the counter. Come out. I've already seen you. And hand over the key so I can lock up. Silence. He sigh, groans, clutches his arm. My wound's bad. I might not make it. A girl steps out from behind the counter and tosses him some medicine. He grabs her wrist. For God's sake, don't turn this into a romance. She looks like someone's kid. Ye tells her to hand over the remote, promising he won't do anything. She asks what remote, though it's clearly in her hand. He steps forward and snatches it. She bolts, hiding behind the counter, eyes locked on him. He kicks a shelf, making her flinch, calls her stupid for believing he was injured. Time passes. Rain starts pouring outside. He lies on the bed, drained. The little girl carefully tends to his amputated arm. The pain is brutal, but he endures it. After a while, she says she's done. He thanks her for saving him. She closes the first aid kit and explains it's too dangerous outside. Her father told her to stay in the store. He can rest here. She'll bring food later. She leaves. He thinks she's too kind. Out of every door he knocked on, she's the only one who let him in. Without her, he'd be dead. Then he hears her voice at the front asking what some men are doing. That jolts him upright. A group stands outside the store. Centipede thanks her for opening the door for his friends. Nervous, she asks if they just want food. He grins. Yes. And now everything here belongs to him. She says her father will be back soon. They laugh. Her father's already been used as zombie bait. Now that she's alone, they can play a game. Yeah. Bay stands in the shadows listening as they kill her. They loot the food, dump her body, and call her an idiot. That was his past life. This time, he won't let it happen. First, she needs to understand how cruel this world is, even if she ends up hating him. She knocks on his door. He immediately snaps, asking why she's bothering him. She apologizes. She washed his clothes. They were filthy. He gets even angrier at her kindness, tells her to throw them away and leave. Embarrassed, she agrees. He thinks to himself, with a personality like that, she won't survive long. Still, the hot shower feels incredible. In the future, water will be contaminated. Moments like this won't exist. He finishes bathing. The store has plenty of food and clean water for now. Next step, equipment and weapons. He studies himself in the mirror. Being young again feels amazing. No back pain, no burning legs. Youth is a gift. Only downside, his abs are gone. He opens the door and finds she's left a suit for him. He shouts, asking how he's supposed to fight zombies dressed like that. At the nightclub, Centipede gathers his crew. The convenience store has food and liquor, but it won't last. Plan is simple. Clear the zombies out front, then take everything. And there's a cute little girl inside. Easy job. He orders his men to start killing so they can rob the place. Outside the store, zombies keep slamming against the entrance. Inside, Ye calls the girl over. Stop being naive. I need to ask you something. Why is she alone? Where's her family? She says her father went to gather supplies and hasn't returned. Ye slams the table. Are you stupid letting a stranger in like that? What if I wanted to hurt you? How would you stop me? Terrified, she says he was wounded and covered in blood. She couldn't just let him die. He shouts again. Didn't she see the creatures chasing him? With a personality like hers, she'd only slow him down. It would be easier to kill her and remove the burden. But being alone is boring. From now on, she follows his orders, every word, or he'll kill her on the spot. The nightclub crew moves toward the zombies, or rather, the zombies move toward them. They start out bold. Then the first man gets torn apart. Confidence evaporates. They wonder if these creatures are different from the ones that student killed. Centipede snarls at them to charge, or he'll kill them himself. One guy bolts, shouting that dying to zombies is better than dying by Centipede's hand. Centipede grabs him by the hair and hurls him straight into the horde. Wish granted. The man screams, asking how he could do that, and then he's devoured. The rest scramble to finish off the nearby zombies, but more keep coming. Centipede realizes there are too many. The horde they stirred up won't stop. They have to run. Back at the convenience store, it's quiet. The little girl brings Yao by a bowl of ramen. She made it for him. She also brings the hot water he asked for. He tells her to leave. She's done enough. Unless he calls her, she's not to enter his room. She nods and shuts the door. He prepares the noodles and eats immediately. He's starving. One bite, and he grins. It's good. Outside, Centipede dangles from the store entrance, clinging to avoid the zombies below. He steps forward with the bottle of hot water. Centipede demands to know what he's doing. Yaoi unscrews the cap and pours it over his hand. Skin reens instantly. Blisters rise. Centipede howls, but doesn't dare let go. He'd fall straight into the horde, begging for help while threatening to kill someone. Yaoi says, idiot. Then someone tugs his sleeve. The little girl. She tells him to stop. Let the man in. Don't hurt him. Ye stiffens. He told her not to come upstairs. She insists. Her father always said not to harm others. He studies her for a moment. You're not afraid he'll come in and kill you. Centipede swears he wouldn't. He's just starving. Surrounded. He has nowhere else to go. The streets are full of zombies. Yay. Bay clicks his tongue. He had planned to kick him loose and let the horde finish the job. His eyes land on a box cutter on the table. They let Centipede inside. He thanks the girl. Sweetly, then announces that now this is his territory. Anyone who disobeys dies. The girl realizes her mistake. At the nightclub chaos, the survivors barricade the door as zombies slam against it. A bald man curses Centipede for dragging them into this mess. The girls scream. The wooden door won't hold much longer. The bald man calls for help blocking it, but as he looks at them, he thinks about running instead. Better they die than him. Back in the store, Centipede faces Ye Bei. He tells the girl she's cute, but stupid if she thinks he wouldn't kill. Still, since she let him in, he'll give her a chance. She can become his slave. Then he turns to Yaya Bei. First, he'll deal with the bastard who scalded at his hand. He plans to make him suffer. Ye Bei says nothing. The box cutter rests in his grip. The girl pleads. Her family owns this store. There's chocolate downstairs. Snacks. Enough food for everyone. For a second, there's silence. She smiles. Hopefully, they can all share. Live peacefully. Centipede. Snaps. He lunges at her, furious. You mocking me? The blade flashes. In half a second, Ye Bei slices across Centipede's injured hand. Centipede screams. Ye flips the cutter into a reverse grip and moves in again. Centipede blocks the strike. Ye goes for his throat. Centipede's bigger. He drives a kick into Ye's stomach. Ye flies back. The girl crashes down with him, bleeding. Ye pushes himself up and walks toward him. Centipede sneers. First time anyone's pissed me off this much. One kick and Ye feels ribs crack. Centipede starts stomping on his leg. Pain explodes through him. How'd you kill that zombie so easy? Centipede demands not telling. Ye says, then you're dead. The stomping continues. He says eventually Ye will talk. The girl just watches. Ye lets it happen. He wants her to see what this world really is, but the cost is high. Finally, he gasps for him to stop. Says he'll explain. Centipede tells him to hurry. If he cooperates, he'll make the death less painful. Ye spits blood in his face. Wrong move. Centipede slams him into the wall and kicks him again. Stomps him. Punches his jaw. Tells him to die. This lesson is getting out of hand. Then it shifts. The little girl lashes out, striking Centipede across the neck. He turns furious. What do you think you're doing? He shoves her hard. She hits the ground. He grabs the box cutter and roars. They're both going to die, but time's up. Ye swings a stick into the back of his neck. Centipede collapses. Ye can barely stand. The girl stares at the spreading red on the floor. Did I kill him? Ye rests a hand on her shoulder. She did what she had to. That man was evil. Confused, she asks why he treated her so harshly when she only tried to help. He tells her Centipede isn't dead. Her face lights up. Then they should save him. Ye shoves her aside. He drags her out of the room, calls her unbelievably naive, and slams the door. She drives him crazy, and now that bastard's trashed his room too. He grabs Centipede by the leg and drags him to the window. One kick. The body drops into the street like garbage. The zombies swarm, a feast. Centipede wakes just in time to realize what's happening. Outside, Ye mutters. He was lucky he didn't cut his limbs off first. A noise pulls his attention. Across the street, a guy hangs from a building, trying to avoid the zombies below. He's slipping, shaking, begging them to leave him alone. Ye calls out, anyone else alive in there? The guy says, he's the last one. They held the door until someone let go. The zombies got in. Everyone died. He begs to join the convenience store. Ye refuses. If he doesn't move soon, he'll end up like the guy on the ground. The survivor looks down, sees Centipede being eaten. He swallows, gathers his nerve, and jumps to the next ledge. He moves like a parkour pro, balancing on a railing and running across it. Ye watches, almost disappointed the zombies didn't finish the nightclub crew. Time passes. The horde still lingers outside. The window's broken. Ye opens his bedroom door. The little girl is still there. Didn't I tell you to go bathe? He snaps. She glances inside. The body's gone. Don't stare, he says. He's downstairs. She hesitates. Did he escape? He tells her the way he tossed that man outside. Only a god could have survived. She looks down, upset. Why kill him like that? Even bad people can change. Ibi slams the door above her head. Are you that dense? After everything in this apocalypse, he was always going to try to kill you. She repeats the word apocalypse like he's crazy. Says he doesn't know what he's talking about. He walks off. No point arguing. He might as well take another shower. She insists on talking, takes 2 steps, then collapses. He catches her just in time. He carries her to the bed, checks for bite marks. None. Probably a fever. There should be medicine somewhere in here. That explains why she's looked weak since the start. He finds a box. On top of the medicine sits a pink notebook. He flips through it. It's a donor list. Medical notes. He pieces it together. Yao Yu were 14 years old. Leukemia. He lifts her shirt slightly and notices the bandages scattered across her skin. So many puncture marks. She's been receiving transfusions. Maybe that's why she's so desperate to help people. She's lived off their kindness, but the world she wants to save is gone. He checks his pocket. The apocalypse essences are still there. He has no idea if they'd help with something like this. Night falls. Zombies crowd the streets, but it's quiet. By morning, they stand motionless, staring toward the sun like something's holding their attention. Later, Yabel wakes up at the table, freezing. He must have fallen asleep. He feels eyes on him. Yower stands behind the door. She's already up. He asks if she feels better. She hesitates. Before she answers, he tells her to make some coffee. As she turns, he stops her. Pack tools and food. They're going to look for her father. She blinks. They're really doing that. Yes, he says. Her father went out for supplies. They can't just leave him out there. She protests. Her father told her to stay put. Be a good girl. Don't go looking for him. He asks how long he's been gone. At least 3 days. How long does it usually take? Half a day? Then think. He says, why hasn't he come back? She snaps that 3 days ago he shouted he was on his way home, and since then. Yeba presses. Any other word? He could have been bitten. Trapped. Waiting for help. Shouldn't they try? She lowers her head. Her father said no matter what, she wasn't to leave. Ye stands irritated. Calls her an idiot. Why was she ready to save a criminal, but won't try to save her own father? He makes it clear this isn't a discussion. He could kill her and go alone, but she saved him. So finding her father is repayment. Stop whining. Grab your things. They're leaving. She rushes off, nearly tumbling down the stairs. These conversations exhaust him. Outside, the city lies in ruins. Zombies still stare skyward. Then an engine. A jeep rolls down the street behind them. These zombies really think they can stop a moving car with their arms. Yeah, good luck with that. They grab the hood and get flung aside. Back in the convenience store, Ibe stocks up on food, getting ready to leave. He glances back at Yao. Why are you hiding? You done packing? She looks small and gloomy. And what are you wearing? We're not going to a party. He drops it. Where are the instant noodles? She hands them over. He eats while scanning the store. Planning. Once that door opens, he'll need to clear zombies and find a working car, then get her into it without her doing something reckless. That'll be the hard part. She's nibbling spicy sticks. He asks for one. She's still down from being scolded nonstop. Then someone approaches. In the next second, everything explodes inward. Shelves topple. Debris flies. Earthquake. Ye mutters. No. A car has plowed halfway into the store. The door swings open. A bald, chubby man in military gear steps out laughing. Says he's lucky to find a convenience store. He kicks a zombie aside. Good zombie is a dead zombie. He strolls in, eyes lighting up at the snacks. Drops to a crouch, licking his lips. Jackpot. The city center was empty, so he tried this deserted block. Looks like it paid off. A box cutter flashes into view. Drop it. Ye says. Last bug who came and got dealt with. I won't hesitate. The chubby guy reacts fast. Hurls snacks at Ye's face. Ye blinks. The guy grabs what he can and sprints back to the car, slamming the door. Ye appears at the window instantly. Filthy pig die. The blade presses close. I surrender. The guy blurts. That's when Yao Yuru tells Abe to stop killing people. Both men stare at her. She fumbles out an explanation. If he dies, who pays for the damage to the store? Ye studies her. The chubby man trembles. A slow grin spreads across Ye's face. She's right. He tells the man the car covers the damage. Then he orders Yao to grab her bags. They're leaving. She agrees, then freezes. The crash has drawn a horde. Zombies pour down the street. The chubby guy panics. He just killed a bunch. Why are there more? Yao jumps into the car. Doors slam. Buckle up. The driver yells. He floors it. Zombies cling to the sides as the truck barrels forward, crushing everything in its path. He tears through the streets like he's in an action movie, even drifting corners like it's Fast and Furious. Drive straight. Ye warns, or I'll open your neck. The driver argues they need to clear zombies or they won't get through. Yabe ignores him. Yao, where was your father heading? Fudong supermarket. That's what he said on the last call. The driver groans. That place is always packed. It must be crawling with zombies now. Stop whining. Yabe says, drive or you'll die there. They finally shake the horde. The chubby guy glances back. If it gets boring, I can turn on some music. Out on the road, things finally settle. A zombie lies in the street, a branch still clutched in its hand. It lifts an arm as the jeep approaches. The chubby driver doesn't slow down. He runs it over without blinking. He's blasting music, chewing candy, mowing through anything in front of him, clearly having the time of his life. Keep it down. Yay, I want to rest. Relax. The driver replies. This car is solid. Yabe raises the box cutter. You're not listening. Silence. The driver slams the brakes. I didn't say. Stop. Yabe says. I said stop the noise. The driver swallows. We're out of gas. Both Yabe and Yao shout in frustration. The driver apologizes. Forgot there weren't any gas stations nearby. He starts stuffing his face. If I'm dying full. Yao hears something outside. A massive zombie looms at her window. They've stalled beside a park. A horde starts closing in. Even if the car holds, they'll be trapped. Then Yabe spots a machete behind the seat. Zombies slam against the windows. A door suddenly flies open, kicked off its hinges. Yabe steps out calmly. A zombie lunges. The machete flashes. One down. Inside, Yao trembles. Yabe grins. Nice edge. Another zombie shuffles in for amateurs like this. This is enough. Slash. Another drops. Two more come. He kicks one in the chest, pivots, and cuts the other down. The driver watches, stunned. Even Yao Yue stares in disbelief. Another big one collapses. Yabe taps the blade against the car. Out. The driver shakes his head. Stay in there, and you'll die anyway. Yabe says other cars are around. Maybe we can siphon fuel. While Yabe handles the zombies, the driver's job is to get gas. After all that singing, he'd better know his way around a vehicle. Yabe tells Yair to stay inside. Too dangerous. Then he gestures for the driver to follow. The man hesitates. Says he needs a moment. Too late. Yab has already dropped another zombie. No fear at all. He slices through one more and calls back. Move. The driver suddenly remembers there are fuel canisters in the truck bed. He starts thinking maybe Yab is worth keeping around. Yabe kills another and asks what he just said. The driver stammers, shocked, that's all. If they wait a bit, he can refill the tank. Later, Yab says, I need your help first. He opens his hand. A green pearl rests in his palm. These come from zombie brains while I kill you collect. The driver pales. He's never done anything like that. It's easy, Yab says, demonstrating quickly. Got it. The driver grimaces. That's disgusting. I'd rather stay in the car. Go back and you'll end up minced. Yab replies. How am I supposed to do it without a knife? Use your hands. Yab steps forward and drops another zombie. The driver swallows hard, approaches the first corpse, then panics. Runs back to the jeep, grabs a tool, mutters a prayer. No time. Yab snaps. Start collecting. The driver hovers over the body, sweating. It's not still alive, right? The chubby guy smacks the corpse and digs in. Hey. Small green crystal rolls into his palm. That's it. He stares at it, surprised. Easier than he expected. There really is something inside the skull. He never imagined a human head could produce this. Are these worth money? He asks. Shut up, Yabi replies. The guy starts wondering if this is why people turned into zombies. Maybe he should pocket a few. Meanwhile, Yab cuts down another cluster. After a while, he calls it. That's enough. The ones farther out aren't worth it. This body is still untrained. It's harder than it should be. He turns back. How many? The chubby guy beams a bunch. Says, it's almost fun. Clean them, store them, then fill the tank. Time to move. Yabi checks on Yaoyu. Her condition's worse. He grabs her arm, calls her name. Her skin's burning. The fever is higher than before. He rummages through her bag. They took medicine and water earlier. The chubby guy leans in. What's wrong with her? Shut up. Pump the gas. After a while, the fever eases slightly. Maybe. She overheated in the car. The driver suggests. Feeling better? Yahi cuts him off with a glare. They already lost time because he pretended they were out of fuel. If he hides anything else, he's dead. The guy apologizes fast, says he won't lie again. Yaoyu stirs awake. They drive on. After a stretch of road, the driver glances over, compliments Yahi's blade work, asks his name. Give yours first. Yahi says, Yao Hang. I run a workshop in the city. That truck? A customer left it for repairs. Never came. Back once the apocalypse hit. Yahi. Suddenly, Xiao Hang slams the brakes. The truck skids. Yahi grabs the seat to steady himself. What was that? The road's blocked. Ahead, wrecked vehicles burn across the entire stretch. No way through. Yaoi is still trembling, but at least she's upright now. Yahi studies the blockage. No way to reach the area where her father went. She just watches, silent. There's another route. Xiao Hang says, longer. Still going? Yes, but first we need better weapons. He asks if Xiao Hang knows an electrician or a weapons shop. Xiao Hang thinks, then nods. He knows someone. A blacksmith from his hometown. Skilled. That gets Ya's attention. Good chance he's alive. If not, his place should still have supplies. This machete. He made it. More materials means better gear. Worth it. Xiao Hang starts reminiscing about old times. Quiet, Yao says softly. Yai's dozed off. They cross a bridge into another district. Xiao Hang steps out and stretches. Finally, years may have passed, but the place hasn't changed much. Yahi eyes the area. This better be worth it. If not, you're getting buried here. First rule, clear the area before entering. He scans the zombies outside. Any of these look like your friend? Xiao Hang hesitates. Not sure. Then start collecting pearls. Yahibi says, wait. A voice calls from the car. Yayura steps forward. I want to help. Yahibi tells Yawara she'll just faint or get bitten and slow them down. She insists. She's fine now. She'll be careful. Xiao Hang grins. If she's brave, I'll dig. She can collect. Yahibi's voice turns cold. If either of you gets bitten, I'll cut you down myself. Yura notices. He says it like he wouldn't hesitate. Yahibi moves in, carving through zombies. Xiao Hang cracks skulls and chats while Yayura drops the green pearls into a bag. From a nearby building, someone watches through binoculars. A man with a cigarette, eyes dark with irritation. Another man enters. Brother Lu snaps without turning. Knock. Next time. A rookie outside trembles. What is it? Lu asks. They're in the blacksmith shop next door. 3 of them. One guy's killing zombies alone. He's strong. Lu says he saw them already. Why bother him? The rookie stammers. This one's different. Lu thinks, then gestures. A girl brings him instant noodles. He tosses the pack to the rookie. Eat. Report properly. After the rookie beams, Brother Lu is amazing. Lu idly strokes the girl. Beside him, she looks exhausted, starving, and drops to her knees. Get the chubby one out of there. Lu orders. Gather everyone. Finish the rest. Whoever does gets rewarded. Back at the shop, the zombies are down. 1 pearl left. Ye tells Jo Hang to check the perimeter while he looks inside. He kicks the door open. A full blacksmith workshop. He scans the room. Anvil, tools, racks of weapons. The forge is still burning. Someone was here recently. Jiao Hang says the place looks intact, but he has no clue where his friend went. Bring pearls and scrap from the cars. Ye says, sharpen your blade. Why not just grab one of these? Jiao Hang gestures at the finished weapons on the wall. In a week, they'll be useless. Xiao Hang's eyes widen. He gets it. Ye's forging something new. Move. Ye snaps. Bring the pearls. Xiaoheng mutters about him being hot-tempered. Yu asks what she should do. The forge roars. Pistons pump. Mechanics first skill. Construction. Ye slides a steel tube into the fire and starts hammering. Xiaoheng watches, impressed. Someone this young knows blacksmithing. Pour the pearls into the cup. Ye. Bei orders. Xiaoheng obeys. The pearls melt in the fire, turning into a glowing green liquid. An aura rises from it, almost magical. Ye. Bei slices open a bottle of strawberry juice and pours it into the molten mix. The liquid fuses together. He coats the blade with it. The metal absorbs the glow. Then he hammers again. The ringing echoes outside. Brother Lu's group hears it. The rookie looks terrified. A sharp-jawed man smirks. Easy resources. A long-haired guy says the real prize is time with Higuan. A man in a polo shirt cautions them. If Brother Lua wants this guy dead, there's a reason. Better wait until night when their guard drops then strike. Inside, Yabai keeps forging. The design looks almost futuristic, mechanical, precise. John starts wondering if this kid came from some top engineering university. Yabai finishes one piece and immediately starts another. He pulls the first part from the water. Zhang whistles. That electric pattern's sick. Ye just smiles. Materials are ready. Time to show what a mechanic can really do. Ye sets noodles on the table, quietly, happy just being near him. She feels safe. Suddenly, a hand clamps over her mouth. The long-haired creep drags her back, saying he's taking her somewhere else. Inside, Yabai has just finished sharpening the blade. He locks it into a mechanical frame and sets it down. Xiaoheng stares. I've only seen stuff like that in movies. Ye connects two cables. Time to power it up. The weapon hums to life, glowing green. Even with the generator sputtering, it holds. Second order sword. Yabai says, done. Xiaoheng wants one too. Then they hear Yu scream. They rush outside straight into Brother Lu's gang. Ye hangs limp in one man's arms. Yabai's face darkens. The bald leader tells him to drop the weapon or the girl dies. Yabai raises his arm instead. One slash. A shock wave tears through the ground and splits the man in two. Another tries to flee. Where do you think you're going? A second slash. Metal parts like paper. Panic erupts. They scatter behind them. Ye has already made his first headless knight. One of the men yells to drop the girl if they want to live. The kidnapper refuses. If they don't run, Brother Lu will kill them later. A lightning arc slices past their faces. Ye walks forward calm. Then Xiaoheng shouts. Another horde is coming from behind. These zombies move faster than before, like something changed them. Xiaoheng freezes. What now? Ye grips the blade and charges. Green arcs flash. Zombies fall one after another. Xiaoheng watches in awe as Ye cuts through them in a storm of strikes. But the two kidnappers are getting away. They're heading for that building. Zhao Yaheng yells. Obviously, Ibei points. Stop staring. Take the car and chase. Zhao Heng scrambles into the jeep and speeds off. Behind him, Ibe keeps carving through the horde. Saving the damsel falls to Zhao Heng now. The fleeing men hear an engine roar. Zhao Heng barrels toward them. They leap onto a bus, blocking the entrance to their base. He brakes hard. The bus seals the doorway. He steps out, unsure what to do. Inside, more men watch from the windows. Just one chubby guy. Easy. They step off the bus and warn him to leave the car, or they'll roast everyone inside that building. Xiaoheng snorts. Come try. A guy in a cap rushes him, bragging he's killed more people than Xiaoheng's eaten chickens. Bold claim given Xiaoheng's size. Xiaoheng braces himself. You're asking to die? A green crescent flashes past him. The attacker splits in half. The bus behind him cracks open too. Xiaoheng blinks. Ye's already here. Zombies cleared. Move. Ye says, we're saving her. He swings again, and the bus splits clean in two. Behind the pillars, more men prepare to charge. Ibe walks straight into the open. One throws a knife. He senses it, blocks it midair, and answers with a slash. Another body drops from behind a stack of crates. Someone hurls a Molotov. Ye sidesteps. It like he's dancing and answers with a green crescent slash. A gunshot cracks. The bullet barely misses. He moves like Neo dodging in slow motion. Brother Lu watches from above, impressed. Says Yab is brilliant. Asks how he got so strong. Offers him a drink. claims he appreciates talent. Ibe raises his blade instead. Luo gestures toward Yaoyer. Don't move. She's sleeping peacefully. Next second, she could be dead. He says he's treating Ibe politely, so he should stop posturing, or they can test whether a bullet's faster than a sword. Ibe studies him in silence. Xiaoheng whispers, asking what the plan is. They've got guns. Ye suddenly smiles, says he agrees to talk. He's working on something big and needs manpower. If Luo gathers everyone, he'll give them a chance. Lu narrows his eyes. Does he really want to speak to everyone? Fine, they'll welcome him. Xiaoheng mutters that this is insane. Facing all of them alone, armed. If you're scared, leave. Ye says calmly. Xiaoheng trembles, but says if Yab is going in alone, he's going too. No regrets. Ye thinks the guy's a pain. The lackeys escort him inside. Soon he stands in a room packed with Lu's entire crew. Lu welcomes him. Says every healthy person within 15 kilometers is here. He's the leader. Lu Shang, what's your name? What help do you need? Yab. He says he remembers. Luo Shang asks if he knows how this disaster started. Luo stiffens. How does Ye Bei know him and the origins of all this? Ye compliments him for seeing the signs early and stockpiling supplies. Mentions his likely plan to form the Nether Dragon Association. Lu's confusion deepens. That name was shared with only a few people. How does this kid know? Ye produces a green pearl. Says he suspects Lu's more interested in this. Lu grows impatient. Tells him to stop playing games and talk. Ye pauses, then lays it out. Maybe it started with a virus carried by birds from overseas. Maybe it was a population controlled by a weapon. Or maybe an alien meteor brought something unknown. He figures Luo has heard all three theories. That's why he relocated people from the city center to this isolated base. Lu nods. He knows a little more about the virus than most. He pulls 2 pearls from his pocket. Says he still doesn't understand why they form inside zombie brains. But he suspects Yabri's big project and that sword are connected. Ye confirms it. He'll need assistance, though. Lu agrees on one condition. He wants to see the sword first. Ibe starts to lift it. Luo reminds him about the girl beside him. No one wants a tragic ending. Yabi pauses, then hands it over. A lackey grabs it and nearly collapses. Says it's impossibly heavy. Luo scoffs and tries himself. He can't even lift it. He laughs dryly. Today's full of surprises. Go on. Luo says, explain. Ye tells them the truth. When someone gets infected, a pearl begins forming in their brain. At first, it's dark. The longer it remains inside a zombie, the more energy it absorbs. That energy adapts well to the human body. It can also forge weapons far stronger than anything ordinary steel can offer. Lu leans forward, intrigued. If it adapts to the body, can we consume them? Keep getting stronger? Ye says it's possible to consume the pearls, but most people turn into zombies. Lu asks what happens to the ones who don't. Watch. Yabi says, I'll show you. Step 1, activation. He connects 2 power cables. Green energy surges across the room. Generators spark, then explode into flame. Blackout. What did you do? Luo shouts. In the same breath, Yabi grabs the sword and lunges. The first strike misses. Lu fires back. Yab slips past the shot. He tightens his grip and cuts clean through the man. The trembling leader realizes too late. He underestimated him. The Nether Dragon gang dies here, Yab says coldly. In another timeline, you'd build weapons, build a slavery system, become infamous. Not this time. Another slash. More. Bodies fall apart. The floor's wrecked. Blood everywhere. Ye glances at Yao, still unconscious. Relief softens his face. He brushes her hair back gently. The world's cruel enough. She doesn't need to see this. A figure appears in the doorway. Xiaoheng, the coward who ran earlier. He steps in with a flashlight. Stunned. You wiped them all out? Yes. Ye picks up a weapon from the floor. Objective complete. Wait. Xiaoheng asks. We came all this way for that. Not for you in this world. Ye says. Weapons evolve. They're more dangerous than ever. Xiaoheng's curious what it'll become. He even praises Yabari's trick, tossing pearls into the generator to cause the chaos. Clever. A bottle suddenly clinks against the floor. They turn. A girl lies collapsed nearby, begging them not to kill her. Xiaoheng blurts out why there's a damsel in distress here. She says Luke Shan captured her. She's been living as a slave, suffering daily. She has nothing to do with the gang. Ye asks if she knows where Luke hid the rest of his supplies. She nods, offers to lead them. As they walk, Xiaohang asks where she's from. Eastern City, she replies. They stop at an elevator. Storage rooms on the 6th floor. Ye tells Jiao Hang to stay with you. He'll check the storage with the girl. Back in the wreckage, a wounded lackey crawls through the bodies. He sees Luke Shan sliced in half. His eyes land on a pearl. He remembers Yab calling it black metal energy. Remembers Luke Shan eating it. Might turn someone into a god. With no options left, he swallows it. His pupils shrink. Veins bulge. He convulses in agony as thunder crashes outside. Yaoi wakes. Rain pours beyond the windows. She asks where they are. Jiao Hang tells her to relax. She was kidnapped, but they saved her. Ye returns noticing she's awake. Find anything? Jiao Hang asks. Yes, but moving it will take until tomorrow. And the girl? She ran. Ye says we reached the storage. Strange in this rain. He brushes it off. Forget her. They need rest. After this storm, the streets will be packed with zombies. Elsewhere, a girl showers quietly. A man's voice echoes outside the door. She didn't mutate and she's in his house. Nothing's free. He rattles the handle. Says aside from her body, she has nothing to offer. She screams for help. He laughs. With rain like this, no one can hear her. Then the door cracks open on its own. He freezes and steps out to check what just happened. The man outside the shower makes a fatal mistake. A scream echoes. The girl peeks out. He's been slammed into the wall by a massive creature. She shrieks. The monster stands there, staring at her. It reaches out. She backs away, begging it not to come closer. It pauses, catches its reflection in the mirror, then collapses, clutching its head. I'm not a monster. It pounds the floor, asking why it turned into this. Shaken, the blonde asks who he is. He says he was shot. Then he swallowed a zombie pearl. His body started mutating. She's confused. People turn into this by eating the black metal pearls. He says someone named Ye told him. Took the pearl from a monster's head. Her eyes sharpen. He mentioned Ye. Suddenly bold. She demands to know where he is. The creature says Ye recently arrived in the southern city and slaughtered everyone in a building. The blonde Rui from the beginning smiles coldly. She wants to kill Ye Bei. The monster shakes his head. Impossible. Ye is too strong. Roxy says she's in this state because of him. They're enemies. She studies the creature. If he killed a man instantly, isn't he strong, too? He says he feels powerful but can't control it well. Then he asks if she's afraid of him. Rui laughs like she's lost her mind. She runs a hand along his arm. You're strong, she says. Help me kill ya, and I'll give you whatever you want. She doesn't seem bothered. He's a giant monster. He lifts her up excited. Then I'll help you kill him. She smiles. The plan's set, but his body trembles. Something's wrong. He drops to his knees, screaming. Night passes. Morning comes. Ye gears up. In the warehouse, they find more instant noodles, cigarettes, drinks. He straps the devilish sword to his back. Supplies are packed. Time to move. They head downstairs. Xiao Hang freezes. Something's crushed. The car roof. Looks like a meteor strike. He panics, nearly in tears. We can't even open it. Yay. Bei studies the damage. Too severe for just a storm. Move. One slash. The roof splits clean off. The truck's now a convertible. Mirrors intact. Looks factory made. They climb in. The engine still runs. Guess we're finding her father now. Xiaohang asks. Yes. They roll out. Xiaohang grins. Convertible Apocalypse Edition. Not bad. Then zombies notice them. Off to the side. A girl and several students sprint from a horde. Ye recognizes them. His former classmates still alive. They're screaming for help. One clumsy girl trips. Zombies close in. A green crescent slices through the air. The horde falls apart. The students stare in shock. Then they see Ye walking toward them. He smiles. Didn't expect to see you again. They thank him frantically. Thought they were dead. The blonde guy stares. How did you get this strong? Ye ignores that. Where are you heading? They explain after fleeing the school. They heard about a camp forming on an island. Many died on the way. One spots the car. Can we get a ride? Another girl steps forward starving. Do you have any food? Yao watches quietly, seeing how desperate they look. Xiaoheng mutters that they're probably more interested in his car than anything else. Ye raises his hand. Quiet. The car is low on gas. He can't take them far. And before they ask for a ride, they owe him a favor. The ex-classmates nod eagerly. They'll do anything. Ye smiles. Jiao, explain the rules. Jiao lights up suddenly in charge. Ye walks toward the remaining zombies. I'll clear them. You handle cleanup. The students blink in confusion. Xiao hands out tools and demonstrates how to extract the pearls. It's easy. One girl faints on the spot. Yu calmly explains, the skulls are soft. It's not hard to pull them out. The others stare at her, wondering what kind of life made her this steady. Jiao keeps distributing tools, warning them not to get bitten. The blonde guy whispers, curious why the green dancer wants these pearls so badly. Yao Shuit keeps cutting down zombies while they collect. 2 hours later, the sack is full. Yao Ei tells them to pass out some food. Xiaoheng snaps. He doesn't like Yao giving away supplies without asking. The students beg. The chubby guy refuses to hand over even crumbs. Then something lands on the car frame with a metallic crunch. The fully mutated monster stands there. The one from earlier. Yao's recognizes it immediately. An ability user who's evolved. Run, he shouts. A slash nearly takes his arm off. He leaps back and sends out a green crescent. The monster dodges. It's not mindless, it's thinking. Slow clapping echoes. Rui steps forward. The low-cut queen herself. Ye's eyes darken. The students gape. Class rep. Ruby says she survived by any means necessary just to see Ye. She orders the monster to kill him. Ye can't understand why it's siding with her. The monster charges. He has no choice but to fight. Yu recalls his name. A fireball slams between them. On the rooftop stands another figure, a long-haired flame-wreathed creature. Cut to a ship at sea. A man smokes a cigar, saying, "Life's peaceful out here. Zombies can't fly." They plan to gather supplies from other boats. Then one boat explodes. The flame-haired creature lands. The men scream. Then they're gone. Back to the street. The flame creature stands atop a building, staring down. Ye and the mutated monster both look up. Another evolved user, worse, an elemental type. Roxy doesn't understand. She asks her monster if that thing's his ally. He says he doesn't know. The flame creature leaps, grabs him by the throat, clearly not friendly. He tries to reason with her. She plants a foot in his stomach and kicks him into a car. Then she blasts him with fire. Xiaoheng wails as their car and their food burns. Forget the car. Run. Ye shouts. He grabs Yao Yu and moves. Roxy screams for her monster to kill Yaya. The monster struggles. This fight's not going his way. Suddenly, the flame creature hurls a fireball straight at Yao Yu. The ground erupts. Everyone scatters. Yao Yu falls, but Yi pulls her clear at the last second. A wall of fire rises between them and their enemies. Move. Ye yells. Stop staring. Where? Xiaoheng cries. Yua spots a garage entrance across the street. He bolts for it. Follow me. Behind them, Ruaki's monster faces the flame creature again. He tries to talk her down. They shouldn't fight. Did she eat the black metal energy too? She mutters one phrase, Black Pearl. The flame creature suddenly clutches her head and collapses. I didn't want to eat it. She says lunatics tied her to a bed and forced the pearl down her throat. She wants them dead. Whoever kills them gets the ashes. Rui's monster nods. He was forced to. He understands. Rui cuts them off. Enough. He is getting away. Arms crossed. She mocks them. How are they supposed to get revenge if they let him escape? The monster assures her he can still track E by scent. The flame creature asks who this E is that matters so much. The black monster says E knows about the pearls. Maybe he even knows how to turn them human again. The flame creature hesitates. If there's a way back, she'll join them. E and the others sprint down the street. A car suddenly hurtles toward them and explodes, blocking the path. The monster lands nearby, saying the fight isn't over. He knows E understands the cursed pearl. Time to talk. Yuan knows he can't avoid this. He tells Xiaoheng to take Yaoer and run. He'll buy time. They turn a corner. The flame creature blocks them surrounded. Xiaoheng mutters. Ruoki lounges cross-legged atop a car, laughing. No escape now. Yi's had enough of her. He tells his friends to stay back and let him handle it. The black monster charges. Ye dodges. He pulls a Glock and fires. The bullet hits Ruoki in the shoulder. She screams. The monster freezes. He thought he aimed at him. Another shot. Ruxi's stomach this time. The monster throws himself in front of her just as he follows with a green slash. He takes the hit meant for her. The flame creature strikes from behind, igniting the street. Yua rolls clear. A firestorm barrels at him. He deflects it with his blade. Yaoer and Xiaohong watch helplessly. Yaoer pulls a hatchet from her bag and hurls it. It bounces off the flame creature's head without effect. The creature turns. Xiaohong panics. That distraction gives Yabi an opening. Almost. But his real target is the pipe overhead. One strike, the pipe bursts. Water pours down, dousing the flames. Steam rises. Ye lunges and slashes the flame creature. She cries out. He nearly cuts her foot as she staggers back. She retreats. Now Yi faces the black monster again. You'll pay for this. The monster warns. Both creatures withdraw. Battered. They're gone. Yua stands alone, then drops to one knee, exhausted. Yao Yuer rushes to him. Is he hurt? No, he's just relieved. They survived 2 ability users. Xiaohong asks where these things came from. He pauses, then explains. When humans consume pearls, most become zombies, but in roughly 1 out of 10,000 cases, someone evolves into an ability user instead. Even rarer, keeping their mind intact. Xiaohong asks how he knows all this. I'll explain later. Right now, they need to decide their next move. They've lost the car, lost the food. Yay. Bei frowns. The apocalypse is accelerating faster than it did before. Before it gets worse, he needs to forge something stronger. Outside, it was raining again. Worse, the car was wrecked. Xiaohang cried, saying they could at least salvage a few supplies. Worst of all, those damn monsters had thrown all the cars in front of the garage to block their escape, so now they had none. He handed the 2 of them a coat, saying it was the only thing he had to keep the rain off. Our boy asked her what was going on. She said she'd been here before. An old friend of her father lived nearby. She pointed toward a mountain. If they followed that path, they'd reach his house. The big guy asked who this person was and if he was still alive. She said he was a little weird, but a good person, or at least she hoped so. His house had high walls, lots of computers, and plenty of food, so he was probably safe. The big guy asked if the guy had a cyber cafe inside his house. Our boy said that since he was her dad's friend, maybe her dad was there, too. Either way, it was worth checking, but the horde of zombies was coming up behind them again. Yay. Bei said he'd clear the way, and they should follow right behind. Meanwhile, the other big monster was also tearing through zombies. He walked up to one, ripped out a pearl, said it seemed like enough, and jumped onto the building. The fire monster girl was hiding from the rain. He came in from outside, called for Ruchi, and she was almost on the verge of passing on. He said he brought pearls. She told him to hand them over fast, but the monster asked if she was sure she wanted to eat that. She told him to give it to her and get the hell out of the room. Man, the big monster got roasted like a fool. He still respected her. The fire girl asked if she'd eaten it. He said she seemed to be hesitating. Her friend said she would hesitate too, especially after seeing what she turned into after eating one. But the big monster said he just didn't want her to die. The fire girl had cauterized her wounds, but she knew that without medical help, she wouldn't survive. And the other one understood her only chance might be eating that. The fire girl said it would be good. She could mutate like them, and then they'd have one more person to help. They'd kill whoever they wanted and take revenge on everyone. But the big monster said there might be strong people like Ye out there. Besides, her arm still wasn't growing back. The monster girl said it was strange. His weapon seemed able to block even her flames. The big dark Kinnied monster said the best move was to kidnap that guy and force him to reveal everything about the pearls. Then she introduced herself as Joe. The big dark Kinnied monster introduced himself as Wang Shun. Back with our friends, another creature went down. Even in the rain, it didn't slow for a second. But our boy was getting tired. Zhou Hong noticed and said they needed to find somewhere to rest. He told him not to worry about him and asked her where they were. She pointed to a bridge and said that after crossing it, they'd go up the mountain. The problem was the tunnel ahead was filled with water and it looked deep. Our boy saw everything was clogged. Then he spotted a piece of wood, told Yer to get on it, and said they'd push her along. The three of them started through the tunnel. Johann was terrified, asking if there could be zombies underwater. Yob didn't answer, and Jer called to him. The poor guy was just trying to stay awake. Then he passed out, dragging her little raft with him. He plunged straight into the clear water. Back with the monsters, they realized the rain still wasn't stopping. Wang Shang decided to go back to the room and talk to Rushi. But when he got there, he saw her giving off purple energy. He asked what happened, and she started screaming, pounding his chest. Ju rushed in and asked why they were yelling. Man, a black aura exploded through the entire house. And now we're in the past life of our dear Yo. He was pulled out of the water, and Rushi asked where his mechanical group had hidden. She was furious when he wouldn't answer, and he told her to go to hell. She called him arrogant and said he'd pay for it. Then she forced him back into the water. Sometime later, he woke up in the present in the little room. Yer had been sleeping on his leg. She stirred, still groggy, then lit up when she realized he was awake. She was thrilled. He'd finally come to. He asked where he was. Right then, the big guy walked in, taunting him about finally waking up. Yob looked annoyed the big guy was still with them, and said it was obvious he was the one who brought him here. Our boy asked how they dragged him up the slope and rain that heavy. A gray-haired man stepped in and said he wanted to know that, too. How could a boy, a big guy, and a child survive on streets full of zombies? Yer got excited and called him Grandpa Zong. He explained that so. Ring had pulled our boy out of the water, but didn't know what to do next. Luckily, he'd been watching on camera. He drove up in a car and got them all out. Yao Bei asked if he saw everything. The old man said he did. He said Yao Bei was slicing through zombies like they were cucumbers. That weapon was incredible, and he wanted to know where it came from. Our boy stood and said he couldn't say, and demanded it be returned immediately. He tried to threaten the old man, but his legs gave out, and he dropped to his knees, exhausted. The old man said it looked like using that sword drained a person's energy. He apologized for not introducing himself. His name was Jiang, and they could call him Professor Xiang. This was his lab where he researched the zombie virus. Yao seemed to recognize the name. Then it hit him. The first researcher to name the black energy metal pearls was this guy. To a futuristic mechanic like him, Zhang was a genius. Our boy hesitantly asked if he was really Professor Xiang. Embarrassed, the old man said professor was just a title he liked because it sounded nice. In reality, he was just a guy messing around. If it could save humanity, he wanted a closer look. Yao figured if he really was Professor Xiang, it might be worth it. He crossed his arms and said he had something even better for him to research. A live zombie. Downstairs, the old man showed them what was laid out on the table. The weapon was there. Zhang said he'd only analyzed it, nothing more. Our boy reached for it, and Song jumped, saying he'd nearly broken his back trying to lift it. Our boy looked around, impressed. This place was incredible. With a workshop like this, they could make even better weapons. Song asked if he'd made that thing himself. Our boy confirmed it. Song got excited and said he wanted to watch him make another. Our boy said the manufacturing process was a secret. Zhang complained that was bullying. Our boy said if they fed them well for a few days, he'd think about it. On Zhang's monitor, he'd already had information on the two of them for a long time. Man, there isn't a single day of rest in this apocalyptic world. I even feel sorry for these zombies who are stuck with wet feet all the time. Inside the base, Yerb watched the cameras. Zhang came in with a coffee and said he was glad she was there. She said she was doing everything she could to help. Zhang congratulated her for keeping an eye out for more survivors. Then he warned her that unfortunately there was still no news of her father. She said her father and Professor Tsong were good people, so she was sure he was okay. Zhang stepped closer and asked if the two who came with her were really good people. That student didn't seem normal, knowing so much technology at such a young age, and there was a look in his eyes had seen in killers before. The big guy seemed normal, but Zhang believed he was hiding secrets. Just then the big guy showed up and told Zhang to stop bad-mouthing him. In his view, Xiang was the weird one, living alone in a place this huge with a helicopter landing pad on top, a bunch of cars, enough gasoline for years, stacks of solar panels, not to mention mountains of food. The old man shouted that the big guy didn't know anything. He felt the apocalypse coming for a long time, which was why he'd been preparing. And here this guy was living in his house, eating for free, and still had the nerve to talk trash. The old man said his goal here was to save all of humanity. They started fighting. Why told them to stop? Then in that moment, the big guy got hit on the back of the neck. Our boy told him not to move. A little blood came out, and Xiao Hang asked what that was for. He just turned and said the zombies' mutation was about to start, so they didn't have much time. A bigger disaster was coming, and they needed to prepare. The old man froze at the mention of zombie mutation. Outside, those earlier friends were still watching the zombies. Man, I'd almost forgotten those guys existed. He crouched down and told everyone the place was surrounded, so they couldn't get out. One of them said the rain was too heavy and the road was blocked. They had no idea what to do, and their friend Xiaozi had fainted on the ground. The blonde guy said he didn't know where Yub had gone. There was no food in the building, so they were all going to die there, but the blonde said there was still one way. He pulled out a few pearls and showed them. The others remembered they'd taken those from the heads. The blonde said he'd kept some in secret out of curiosity, and he remembered the creatures that attacked them had said they consumed these. One of the friends asked if he was seriously thinking about eating that pill. Then someone cut in and pointed to the side. What's that? Purple smoke was rising from the top of another building. The blonde frowned, wondering why there was a tornado over there. Back at Zhang's house, our post-apocalyptic mechanic was still buried in his work. Zhang's house said he'd been there for days and had no idea why he was so locked in. Zhang said he was probably making equipment to fight the zombies, and maybe more of them would turn into things like that black-spined creature or the one made of fire. Zhang's house said if that happened, everyone there would die. They didn't have any weapons. The old man said he only wanted to build a shelter, not a war zone. Why would he need weapons? Then Ewer came running and calling for them. She said she'd seen her father on one of the cameras. The three of them rushed out. He asked where. She sat at the computer and said the east entrance. She'd even saved the video. Told him to look on the camera. Her father was covered in zombie entrails, blending into the crowd. The old man said from the way he moved, it didn't look like he'd turned. Her father used the chaos and slipped away in disguise. The big guy said it was crazy. Her father had survived like that. The old man realized that if the zombies weren't attacking because of the smell, it might be worth researching. You were asked what they were going to do. Zhang's hesitated. He said the weather was terrible and Yo didn't seem to want to leave. Zhang Heng told her to ask Yo herself. Maybe he'd made something incredible. Cut to him saying no. He still wasn't finished, so there was no point rushing him, and he told her not to bother him except when they brought food. The big guy said he was overdoing it and should at least try to comfort her. Our boy asked why the big guy didn't go rescue her father himself. The big guy didn't get it until he saw what our boy had made, a gun and a blade. Yobar said he'd put his blood on them so the big guy could use them. The big guy hesitated, then managed to lift them way more easily than before. Yo explained that weapons with crystals could read his thoughts. However, just like how he controlled those light blades, he should be careful or he could run out of energy. Young H lit up, saying he'd written everything down. Then he asked about the gun he'd picked up, and our boy confirmed it. To fire it, he had to wait for it to generate energy. The shots were powerful, but he had to aim carefully because he couldn't fire too many times. Xiao Hang's eyes went wide. He said it looked like a laser cannon, and he couldn't wait to test it. He bolted out of the base into the rain, aimed at the sky, and fired. A laser strike. He started yelling that it was incredible. Then he readied the blade and swung, saying that now he had the same power as Yeti Bay. The old man was furious at the big guy for experimenting with everything. Xiao Hang, on the other hand, was thrilled, declaring himself invincible. He pulled on his boots and raincoat and said that no matter what zombie showed up, he'd take it down. He looked into the camera and told Euler not to worry. He'd bring her father back in one piece. She still looked uneasy and asked if he could really do it. The old man said that for now all they could do was watch and see how long he stayed that confident. With a headset on, Jiao Hang took directions. The old man told him to go through the east. Unfortunately, that route led toward the mountain where there were no cameras, so he had to be careful. Jiao Hang snapped at him to shut up, saying he could handle it. He followed the path and soon spotted a bunch of zombies coming his way. The creatures closed in and he grinned, saying it was time to test his friend's gift. He unleashed the famous green crescent slash and cut them in half. He shouted that he was too strong now and afraid of no one. Then he noticed something off to the side. Someone else had seen that strange purple tornado. He finished off a few more zombies and asked if the people in the room had seen it, too. The rain was getting worse, and a purple tornado was forming to the east. The old man said the camera couldn't see it, but the detector showed wind speeds close to level 6. It was too dangerous to stay outside, so he needed to get back to the house fast. Jiao Heng apologized to Yuer and said that unfortunately, he couldn't win against the power of the gods. Old Man Zhang told Yuer to stay calm, assuring her that her father would definitely find somewhere to protect himself. Xiao Hang reached the gate. Suddenly, alarms blared. The old man jumped, rushing to see what happened. Then he told everyone to calm down. He said he'd only brought back a zombie because it seemed Yob had asked him to bring one. Excited that the zombie was still alive, he told them to wait and ran off, saying he'd be back in a second. The old man, just as excited, said it was still alive. Alive was a strong word for that thing. He praised the big guy, who got even more pumped. Yo was happy to see they were getting along better. Meanwhile, Yob was in his production phase. The boy had already finished all the mechanics for the arm. The rain kept falling until finally the sun broke through in this cursed apocalypse. As usual, the zombies went crazy when they saw sunlight. They went so wild they started transforming. Out of nowhere, they turned red and began leaping onto buildings. A poor little girl was smiling, happy the sun was out, until one of the big ones appeared and ended up face to face with her. Her father heard her scream and ran to see what happened. The whole family became a meal. Now the zombies had truly evolved, jumping and forcing their way into people's homes. There wasn't a single safe place left in that building. Our boys' schoolmates fled in desperation. One of them was about to be taken when a zombie got struck in the back of the neck. Then another took a hit to the head. The albino appeared. He pulled out the pill and looked at his friends. They immediately recognized Fawn, the blonde who'd been thinking about eating it. The scene shifted to the street where a pack of zombies ran in a line. On top of a building stood Ruaki with her 2 zombies at her side. Jabo said it was amazing how orderly they moved. Ruaxi laughed. She said she'd been suffering for many days and wanted to know they'd found JB's location. Wang Shang said he was holed up in a house on the mountain that looked like a research lab, and it would be easy to get in and kill him. Ruaxi said that wouldn't be any fun. She wanted him to know exactly who was behind his death. Before that, she wanted him to feel despair closing in. Back at the house, Xiao Hang and you were about to leave when an alarm blared. Xiao Hang asked what it was. The old man immediately told them not to go out. Something very big was coming. Strangely, a bunch of zombies was gathering in the city. The weirdest part was they seemed to be coming straight for them. Xiao Hang rattled, asked how many. The old man said at least 1,000. The big guy frowned and asked if they were the last humans left around here. The old man said he had no idea, but they should tell Ye Bei. The big guy ran off and pounded on the door, shouting to our boy that over 1,000 zombies were coming. Our boy said the professor had already told him. The big guy lit up. Was he ready to kill them all? Our boy said he wasn't ready at all. That wiped the grin off his face. Then how was he supposed to deal with these things? Ye said he told them to hurry up and learn how to handle situations like this. He still hadn't finished his research. And if this guy really was Professor Zhang, then the 2 of them together could solve it. The big guy said none of that made any sense. Ye didn't answer. He just kept working. So the big guy left, muttering that in the end, he could only rely on himself. He climbed a tower. One looked down and his stomach dropped. The horde was already at their doorstep. He knew even the lab walls wouldn't hold against a crowd that size. He sprinted to the car, saying he couldn't let them bunch up around it. The old man panicked, asking what he was planning. The big guy told him to open the gate. He had a strategy, and if it didn't work, everyone had better run. He screamed, but the next second, he was already outside. He charged right in front of the zombies, pulled out his gun, and fired the laser, wiping out the first group. He got excited. There were so many, he didn't even need to aim. He kept shooting, blowing them apart. From a distance, Ruji watched it all. That damn girl was a villain, and she was dangerous. Wang Shang stood on top of the tower, too, impressed by the weapon Xiaoan was using. Ruji only cared about one thing, how long they'd last. Xiao Heng kept firing, kept blowing up zombies. The problem was, no matter how many he killed, the horde didn't seem to thin out. Then a fireball slammed into the ground right under the car's tire. "Your Honor," and the old man screamed. The car nearly flipped. Xiaohang had to scramble out the door. And there, right in front of him, stood the fire zombie. He snapped, furious that this damned girl had pulled such a sneaky attack. He fired at her, shouting that he wasn't afraid anymore. She dodged and threw another fireball. Xiaohang dodged too, pulling a mid-air matrix move and fired back. The creature fled. He called her a coward and told her to come back, but now he was surrounded. He fired a few more shots. Grandpa Jiang yelled for him to return immediately. There was no way he'd make it out alive. Xiaohang ran, realizing he'd walked straight into a trap. And then Wang Shang came from above. There was nowhere to go, but the big guy was fast, dodging again. He hit the ground on his side and nearly landed a shot. He yanked out the blade and almost landed a slash, too. Impressive. He was fighting Wang Shang face to face. Wang Shang wondered how this big guy looked more agile than Ye Bei. He extended his weapon and told Xiaohang to die, but the creature ran off. Man, this bald big guy made everyone flee. Meanwhile, Ruoshi watched from atop the tower. Here she comes, up to no good. Then the zombies that had been standing still suddenly started running at him. Xiaohang froze, confused why they'd changed so fast. But he still had the sword Ye Bei had created, and he unleashed the green crescent slash, but they were coming too fast. He couldn't kill them in time, so he tried to run. What's this? Zombies were getting thrown at him. The poor guy couldn't figure out why these things were raining from the sky, and they kept landing right beside him. Obviously, it was Wang Shang practicing his zombie throwing skills. He grabbed another one and hurled it at Xiaohang. Xiaohang had to waste a bullet to blow it up midair. He kept running, but now he was straight up begging to be saved. Then another thrown zombie landed and wrapped his leg in a death hug. It went in for a bite. Luckily, Xiaohang slashed it, but he hit the ground hard. No time to get up. His only chance was to land a shot. Then a green light flashed. An energy wave swept through everything in front of him. A second cannon shot tore past. Wang Shang and the other one stared, trying to figure out what was happening. Up ahead, beyond the zombie horde, flashes of light rose into the air. Another barrage followed, and then came a massive punch like something out of Transformers. What's this? Our boy turned into Optimus Prime. The kid had built claws and legs, fully equipped. Wang Shang lit up, shouting that he'd finally arrived. The old man cheered, calling the boy amazing. Even the big guy was stunned by all the armor the kid had built over the past few days. But I've told him to focus. The enemy was close. He ordered him to go back and clear the zombies on the right. He'd handle the left until the main creatures showed up. Wang Shang said with him here, they could win for sure. He immediately went back to blasting. Ye scanned the field and even kicked on a booster. The kid shot into the air, activated his giant Optimus Prime hand, and smashed everything in sight. He'd become insanely strong. The big guy could only mutter that he'd gotten a bit too strong. Still, after killing this many zombies, they'd have plenty of pearls to make more weapons. Fired up, he went back to finishing off more. That damned Roaki was still watching from afar. Wang Shang, nervous, said with this new power there was no way they could get close. She snapped, saying that damn boy thought he was safe just because of some armor. She wasn't letting that slide. Another punch slammed down, crushing more zombies. A laser fired forward as the old man watched on the screen. Stunned, he said the boy's exoskeleton was something that shouldn't even exist in this era. He couldn't imagine how Abe had used all those scraps of metal he'd abandoned to build something like this. That's when Yubli revealed the truth. The metal came from inside the zombies' heads. The old man froze. Now it made sense why Abe had hidden it for so long. He took off, saying he was going to mess with the zombie they'd brought in and study it. Outside, Wang Shang started giving orders to the zombies again, sending them to swarm Ibe. The ground began to tremble, and the big guy said it felt like an earthquake. Ye told him to stop thinking and keep killing. Then I've noticed something off. The zombies were jumping toward him. The moment they got close, Ruchi clenched her hand, and the creatures exploded right in front of him. Ye had no idea what was going on. Ruchi laughed, saying he'd die soon. She kept sending waves of zombies and detonating them in his face. Ye couldn't remember zombies self-destructing like this in his past life. Wang Shang watched from the side. Zhu said this looked like a fight between two gods, and there was no way they could jump in. Then he revealed Ruchi had eaten 7 pearls to become like this. Her body kept melting and reforming, showing just how much she hated Yab. Zhou wondered if eating more pearls made you stronger, since instead of turning into a monster, she'd gain powers. But Wang Shang said after seeing what she'd gone through, he had no interest in testing that himself. Ruchi kept sending zombies to explode in front of Yabui. By now, he knew someone was controlling them. He turned, blocked an attack, and fired a blast at the tower. Man, the boy had perfect aim, and Ruchi had to dodge. Wang Shang yelled for her, and like a fool, she almost fell, but she managed to float. Then she froze. Ye was already right in front of her with Optimus Prime's giant hand. He fired again, and she yanked zombies up as shields. She threw up a whole barrier of creatures, but they were about to get swept away. She kept commanding them, and he just leaped over the mess and came in with a punch. She barely slipped to the side. Ye opened his giant hand again. She stepped in for the 1v1 and activated hers too, but man, she took a hit straight to the mouth. The poor girl got launched far away. Before she could even react, he pinned her to the ground. Optimus Prime won Waifu 0. Yab said if she survived those bullets, she must have consumed the pearls. He asked how many she'd eaten. She didn't answer, just tried to activate the power in her hand. Then came the stomping blow. Man, it's better if you don't try anything else, warrior. She screamed in agony. He told her that in their past life, she'd made him lose an arm, too. And today, she'd pay for it. Then he heard something nearby. Wang Shun came running in, desperate, shouting for him to let her go. Ye just opened his giant hand and fired. The monster dodged and started circling him. He tried to use the opening and jumped in. Our boy didn't hesitate. With the hand holding Rushi, he smashed Wang Shang's arm. With the other, he activated the laser and hit him right in the chest. Man, bad luck for the fool. He went flying. Seeing Wang Shang down and Ruaki captured like it was nothing, Zhou knew. She had no chance. Her best option was to run. Ruaki was still crushed under the giant robot. I've said it was crazy. She really might be one of the chosen ones since she'd consumed pearls and still kept a human form. But he also knew how dangerous she was. So to avoid future trouble, he was going to finish her now. Just as he was about to crush her, the zombies started transforming. Ye was shocked. Why had they already reached rank 1? Yao reported that more and more zombies were surrounding the lab. Zhou Hong was holding the line, but some had already broken through and were climbing the walls. Rushi started laughing. She said they were all going to die and become her zombie slaves. Tired of it, Ibe threw her far away. She crashed into the zombies. He readied the giant hand and unleashed a double laser. He clearly fled, thinking she was dead, but you know how stories go. She's probably still alive, right? Meanwhile, the big guy was panicking. His gun was out of ammo. All he had left was the sword, and he was surrounded on all sides. Right then, a rank 1 zombie jumped him. He barely got the sword up in time. He wondered if this was some new ability user. He slashed straight down the middle, but instead of cutting clean, it only left a scratch. He was terrified. He looked back. More creatures were transforming. The entire base was surrounded, and they just kept coming. Jiao Hang slashed at one creature's chest and ran. He had no idea what kind of monster this was. The sword wasn't working anymore. Maybe these were the rank 1 mutants Ye had mentioned. Ye kept calling for Jiao, asking if he was okay. At the same time, some creatures jumped the barrier and started closing in on the research area. But Sang stayed locked in on his research and didn't care what was happening outside. Saw tried to escape, but he couldn't find Ye, and he had no idea how to get back into the base. Then Optimus Prime showed up and grabbed the big guy. Saw was overjoyed and asked if their boy could fly now. Ye said it was. Just a jump with some gliding. Then ordered him to go kill the creatures pushing toward the lab. To kill these rank 1 creatures, it would take more than one slash, and he needed to be careful. These things were way more agile than before. The big guy collapsed, exhausted, saying he could finally breathe a little. Ye jumped to the top of the gate, ready-eyed the Optimus hand, and started evaporating everything in sight. The problem was while he cleared one side, The creatures poured in from the other. The big guy was exhausted. He called out to Yor, saying he was thirsty. Then he heard something nearby and saw a creature coming closer. It was almost on him when he grabbed the blade and stabbed it in the chest. Man, he slammed the first one to the ground and ripped it in half. This kid didn't stop. He hit it again. Yor showed up saying she brought the water he asked for. She asked if Zuaheng was okay. And when she got closer, she said this zombie was different from the others. Inside its head, he found a red pearl. Meanwhile, Professor Zhang finally found what they'd been talking about. Even though the stone looked dull, he could see a strange green light inside it. The question was whether humans became mutants because of this metal or if the metal formed when they turned into zombies. He couldn't wait to uncover all the secrets of that material. Outside, our boy was cleaning up the place. He killed one here, smashed two more there. One swipe of his hand, and he finally said it was over. He shouted out, telling the big guy to come collect the pearls because he'd cleared everything. Zhao Heng gave a thumbs up, saying he was really efficient. But when the big guy saw the pile of dead monsters, he complained it would take forever to gather them all. He turned to Yaya Bei and said if Yabei helped him collect them, he wanted a mecha, too. Our boy said he'd think about it later. Right now, he needed sleep. Then the old man came over. He said it was time for Ye Bei to reveal all the secrets about that strange pearl. Outside, the big guy started digging. There were so many creatures, and the worst part was doing it alone. Back at the base, Grandpa Zhang was fascinated by the rare metal. Ye explained that the pearl starts forming in the brain as soon as a person becomes a zombie. The longer it's exposed to light, the more energy it stores. It was like the zombies could do a kind of photosynthesis. The old man said it was interesting, but after analyzing it, he hadn't found anything that matched what Yubei described. He had noticed, though, that inside the item were active metal molecules that reacted to light and heat. It was also extremely resistant with an affinity for both metal and blood. Ye confirmed it had a special affinity for human blood. That's why the virus spreads much faster in humans than in any other species. And absorbing light makes them keep mutating after a certain amount of time. The old man said that explained why. During the day, zombies would just stand in the street, staring at the sun. But today, they'd been running around like lunatics. Ye said it was because an ability user was controlling them. The old man asked if he meant the spiked creature or the one that used fire and threw flames. Ye said those two were normal mutants. The one controlling the zombies was a high-ranking mutant from his class named Ruoxi. The old man was still trying to wrap his head around how this item could cause so many changes in the human body. Bei said they'd researched it for a while, and the only thing he knew for sure was that if you consumed the item, you would mutate. Ability users had always been a threat, which was why they needed to be killed as soon as they were discovered. The old man was overwhelmed by the item, the mutations, and now zombie rankings. He told our boy his school definitely didn't teach any of this, so where had he learned it? BB said maybe he'd tell him someday, but it would be more valuable if the old man figured it out through his own research. The old man said he wanted to see the new weapons Yubei had made. Ye by Wornout said fine as long as he didn't take apart the Mega because he was going to use it again. The old man left excited. Ye said he was going to sleep because he was completely drained. Yor just watched today. She'd wanted to ask our boy for help rescuing her father, but she knew he'd fought all day and had to be exhausted. So she laid a small blanket over him and sat beside him, thinking about how much she missed her father. The sun was already setting. Outside, the big guy was so tired he couldn't move anymore. He thought it would be amazing he had an item that could easily extract those pearls. What he didn't see was a creature watching him. It was Zubo. She thought it was all over after thousands of zombies died in a single day. She figured Wang Shang and Roosh were dead, too. So, she wondered if she should surrender, but she knew they'd kill her without hesitation. She was a monster. Worse, these new rank 2 zombies seemed to attack even creatures like her. She burned through the last of her energy, summoning flames to incinerate them. But if more showed up or more started mutating, she wouldn't have it so easy. The only answer she could see was to eat more pearls and get stronger. Then she froze up in a tree, said the albino. That damned Afong just staring at her. She was about to speak, but he stretched out a hand, then sprang away in another direction. He bolted. For a second, it looked like she might chase him. Meanwhile, back at the base, you slept. The big guy lay beside her, wiped out after hauling everything back. In the middle of the night, you awoke and saw Yuba was already up. As always, the apocalyptic mechanic was in the workshop, blowtorch in hand, back at it. Morning came, and we were back at that convenience store from the beginning. Ur's father approached slowly. He went inside looking for her, but the place was wrecked. On a table, he found a message she'd left. She'd gone to find him. Now he had no idea where she was. Outside, zombies filled the area. As usual, they stood still, eyes glowing, staring at the sun. Back at the base, a spiky Batmobile had been born. Armored, for giant wheels, and the guy who was about to drive it wore a huge grin. Yuba was something else. The boy built a whole car in one night. The big guy buzzing asked if it was made of rare material and if it could transform into a mecha. Yuba said it was just a regular car, but he'd used 2,000 pearls and 12 rank 1 zombie pearls. The big guy said it suited him perfectly and asked when they could test it. He wanted out there, ready to find Yu's father, but you were told them to wait. This time she wanted to go too. Yuba shut it down. Outside was crawling with rank 1 zombies. She'd die. She said she'd followed every order so far, but this time she needed to find her father herself. Yuba told her to stop being stubborn or he'd have the professor lock her in the lab. Yuba broke down crying, calling for her father. The big guy snapped at Yuba. Why'd he make her cry? Professor Tsiong appeared and told her to calm down. Then he showed her a new drone. He'd fixed it. His first invention using that rare material. It could carry far more energy, last much longer, and the communication and stability were improved. She could stay safe at the base and still help search for her father. Yuba praised him, saying he'd learned to use the item fast. The old man laughed and said he wasn't a real professor, but at least he'd managed to make something like this. Yuba finished prepping the car and told the big guy it was time to go. Xiao Hang was practically vibrating as he fired up the rhino. Yuba told them to be careful. The big guy floored it. The Batmobile blasted out of the base and ripped through the forest. He couldn't believe it. Every terrain felt like asphalt. Then they hit the road, plowing through abandoned cars. His new ride made the others look like tofu. After a while, Yuba said they'd spotted her father in this area. They drove deeper into the city, but the big guy frowned. It was weird. No zombies. Then one of them smiled. Zombies lined the rooftops. The next second they swarmed the car, hammering the metal. Big bodies slammed and clawed, trying to tear it open, but nothing gave. One pressed up against the windshield, and the big guy barked at it to stop blocking his view. He glanced at Yuba. Did the car have any weapons? Yuba said gunpowder was useless, so he prepared something better. As soon as he pressed a button, and the whole car lit up with green electricity. Lightning snapped out and hit the zombies, and they evaporated on the spot. I stared, just as stunned as the big guy, jaw hanging open. The protagonist said that if there were this many rank 1 zombies here, nobody could still be alive. They needed to change direction. They took another route, but from the top of a building, someone watched them. The person smiled. This looked interesting. They rolled up to what looked like a shopping mall. The big guy said this was where they'd seen her father on the cameras. Our boy told them to release the drone and had start searching. She flew the drone, checking room after room. The big guy asked what they were supposed to do in the meantime. Our boy said if he wanted to check the lower floors he could. As for him, he was going back to sleep. The big guy said he felt safer in the vehicle, so they might as well drive around and honk the horn. They kept moving down the road when Yor said she saw zombies coming toward them. The big guy flinched, then grinned, excited to test the new weapons. He hit a button. Spikes shot out of the tires. He drove straight at the creatures and sliced through everything. Another button fired a laser and erased half the street. Yor told him to be careful. Her father could be in one of those houses. He pressed the next button, hoping it wouldn't be too destructive. A meat grinder unfolded in front of the car. He ran over the first creatures, and the system informed him he'd obtained another pearl. The big guy's dream of having a collection tool had come true. He leaned over to hug Yub Bay. The car started swerving. You stared, confused. Inside, the big guy had already smacked his head 5 times. Then Yor screamed. She found her father's car. It was about 500 m away, and she sent the images over. Xiaohang told her not to worry. They would find her father, but the car was wrecked. The windshield cracked. She panicked, thinking something had happened when he went out for supplies. Yubei told her to use the drone and see if he'd left a message. He probably wasn't far. Yura still wouldn't calm down. She kept asking where he was. Then she suddenly went limp and face-planted onto the keyboard. The old man rushed to her, not understanding what was happening. Sometime later, Jia Hang pulled the car over. Yub asked the professor how he was doing. He said she'd fainted and her illness seemed to be getting worse. She'd been so focused on finding her father that she forgot to take her medication. Luckily, he had some stored, but treating this illness wasn't his specialty, and finding a doctor in the apocalypse would be even harder. He told Yubit to go to the hospital for medicine while he did his best to keep her alive. Just then, the big guy came back. He hadn't found any message or information in the car. What was strange was how many supplies her father had left behind. After the crash, he must have bolted in a panic. The big guy also found something else. Black boxes with no logos or labels filled with strange pills. The protagonist said they might be medicine. They take them back to Jiang to check. They started the car and headed for the hospital. The professor said he'd stay with Yubei for now, so he couldn't help with the drones. Back in the car, the big guy looked crushed when he learned Yub had leukemia. Now he understood why Yubit hadn't let her come with them. He started talking about finding the medicine, but Yubei told him to shut up and drive to the hospital. Yubei knew that in 2 years the city supplies would be gone, and this place would turn into an abandoned wasteland. Worse, it was happening faster than he expected. Maybe in the end, he wouldn't be able to change anything. Maybe it was better to think about a different option than letting her live in this miserable world. The scene shifted. Someone injected a liquid into Zhu's arm, and it immediately began to regenerate. She stared, confused at how that was possible. Even her flames had returned. The blonde in the hat said it. It was impressive that she was a fire user. Zhu thanked him and asked what organization he was from. The blonde spread his arms and said they specialized in gathering people with abilities. Their goal was to create a paradise for the chosen in this world. Zhu, confused, asked if the blonde was also a user. He said yes, and that there were many others like him. She asked if it was possible to maintain a human appearance like his. He said yes. His group had the solution. They could live peacefully and happily in this new world. Meanwhile, outside the hospital, the big guy stood at the entrance. In front of him, graffiti warned that this was private territory and to stay out. He told our boy the place was occupied, so what were they going to do? Yedby replied in Optimus Prime mode that since it was a strategic position, this was expected. Then he ignored the warning and smashed his way in. The big guy thought it was strange how quiet it was. He kept seeing messages telling them to turn back or they die. Yeeb told them to search different areas and stay in contact through the headphones. As they walked, the big guy said this was the second place he hated most in the world. He hated the smell of disinfectant, but he started sniffing the air anyway. In this apocalypse, no one was using disinfectant, right? But the strangest thing was he smelled sweet fruit. Suddenly, he went faint and collapsed. I've immediately called out asking what happened. No response. Our boy narrowed his eyes, suspicious. Then something started seeping down from the ceiling. Ye caught the scent and immediately suspected poison, but Optimus Prime came prepared. He put on the mask, activated his giant hand, and blasted the duct. He warned the big guy it was a trap and told him to get out. Then someone appeared right beside him. Our boy didn't hesitate. He swung a punch at the doctor, but stopped an inch before hitting her. She touched the robot and said his mecha was really cool. Then she added, it must have been made using zombie pearls, and she wanted to meet whoever built it. Yeeb wasn't sure if she was an ability user. He asked who she was. The girl introduced herself as Tang Tang and said she was a sweet genius doctor. Ibe asked why the poison and whether she'd consumed any pearls. She said she released it to anesthetize invaders, but she was curious about this pair-ing thing. Ibe told her to forget that and asked if she was alone. She said she was the only princess of that castle and asked if the Demon King was here to capture her. Yeeb, exhausted, asked if she wasn't afraid of death. The crazy girl said death was as charming as candy, and if she died for what she loved most, she'd have no regrets. Our boy wondered if she was insane. He asked what she meant by genius and what she specialized in. She said she was a doctor specializing in viruses. Now our boy was interested. He immediately asked what she discovered about the pearls and whether she used them to make those poisons, but she didn't want to be interrogated. She told him he was annoying. He kept asking questions, but never answered anything. So if he wanted answers, he had to tell her who created that mecha. Our boy hesitated. Then he said they had a research institute, and if she wanted, he could take her there. The girl lit up, but she warned him she had one more request, and he had to agree. The scene shifted to a desert road, a car parked in the middle of nowhere. Yao Hang called out for someone named Hakan and asked where she was. The girl answered that she hated people who broke promises and asked if someone named Xiaoyi had arrived. The guy on the motorcycle, who had to be Xiaoyi, said that after this mission, they'd go back and get married. Someone told them to stop flirting in the middle of a mission. A truck started approaching. The three of them, excited, said that just like Shirao had said, they'd follow the plan. The truck passed in front of the car, and they waited for the signal. But the big guy asked Shirai where the hell the signal was. Poor Hakan had been hit by the truck. Meanwhile, Xiaoyi was trying to tour to escape, saying things were getting weird. Another car pulled up behind the big guys. That's when he realized their plan had been exposed. The big guy jolted awake. It had all been a dream. He'd passed out from the girl's poison. The doctor stood in front of him with a smug look, and Abe asked if he'd slept enough. He blinked, still confused, while the crazy girl giggled. She told him she'd used a special poison she created that knocked people out for 3 hours straight. The fun part, she said, was that if she hadn't given him the cure, his body would have turned into a pool of blood. Ye told them to stop chatting and start loading the items into the vehicle. Tang Tang politely asked Xiaoan to help, but he dragged his feet. She immediately changed her expression and told him he'd better listen or he'd end up in one of those jars. The poor guy grabbed the jars and got moving. She thanked him, calling them true gentlemen. Meanwhile, Abe wanted to know who she really was. He remembered that sweet poison from his past life. In the future, one of the main ways to fight zombies was with this kind of terrifying gas. If this girl was one of the first to create something like that, she was worth keeping on the team and worth helping develop it. At the very least, he couldn't let someone like her fall into another gang's hands. A while later, everything was loaded. The car held way more than it looked like it should. She said it was very cute and that it looked like it had been made using pearls, perfect for a princess like her. The big guy asked Ye if it was really okay to bring along someone this crazy. Ye said they needed her research on the medicines and her help on the trip. Then he heard a noise. A transformed creature appeared on top of a building. A chimera-like lion with many eyes. Everyone froze. When it spotted the three of them, it started drooling. It roared and the big guy asked if it was another ability user or some kind of zombie. Ye told them to stop wasting time outside and get into the vehicle. The creature leaped. Ye activated Optimus Prime and landed a solid hit on its arm, sending it crashing to the ground. While the big guy started the car, Ye held the creature back with his arms. He told them to take the doctor to the base while he handled the monster. He drove a punch into the back of its neck, then hit it with another laser. Inside the car, the big guy wondered why this one was so much bigger than the others. Tang Tang said this big dog had been circling the hospital for a long time, which was why no one came near. Xiaohang demanded to know why she hadn't mentioned a monster like that. She looked genuinely confused and said that since they came from outside, she assumed it had already been dealt with. As she leaned in, she said that with all the advanced equipment they had, it shouldn't be a problem. After all, they were humanity's last hope for survival. The big guy told her to stop joking, but she insisted she wasn't lying. She'd researched the zombie virus, and the people who hadn't transformed were definitely the chosen ones. Outside, Yabe kept fighting, landing another punch. The timing still didn't match his past life. These mutants weren't natural animals that evolved because of the zombie virus. They were a mix of the virus and advanced engineering, something that shouldn't exist yet. The creature fired a beam, and Abe barely dodged. He smiled. He was finally starting to understand what was happening. He fired again with Optimus Prime, aiming for its neck. The shot deflected and slammed into the building. Ye realized the creature could still reflect his attacks. The beast charged and ran at him with its claws, but he slipped to the side. It grabbed one of the bosses and started wrapping around it. Ye told her to stop being so disobedient and tore 2 pieces from her back. The monstrous creature collapsed, exhausted. She fired another beam, but Ye blocked it with his hand. He said her movements were useless now, and it was his turn. He launched himself forward with the robot. With one strike, he hit her square on the head and started smashing her into the ground. Man, the boy was brutal. And he finished off the monster. Among the remains, he found a massive pearl. Our boy turned it over in his hand and said that once he transplanted something like this, things would get much easier. Meanwhile, the blonde guy on top of the building watched and muttered that this was going to give him a real headache. Ye called the big guy, asking if they could hear him. Unfortunately, they were already too far away and the signal wasn't working anymore. Time to head back, so he started flying with the Optimus. As he passed the buildings, he glanced sideways and spotted the blonde guy. The blonde waved and said, "It was a pleasure to meet him." Man, Ye immediately stretched out his hand and blew him up right in front of him. The blonde appeared on another building and asked if Abe had some kind of prejudice against ability users. Ye didn't hesitate and sent another explosion his way, but the blonde said he wasn't interested in fighting. He teleported onto the robot's arm and said he was only there to deliver a message and wouldn't take long. Ye crushed him with his hand. The blonde said if Ye wanted to chat in that position, it was fine with him. He introduced himself as Song Bin and invited Ye to visit him in the Northern District. Ye kept crushing him while the doctor said he was interested in calling the medical girl. But when Ye looked at his hand, the guy was gone, so he had some kind of body substitution ability. Not a huge threat, but a nightmare to deal with. And the strangest part was that the damn secret organization was already forming. Yubai didn't want to think about it, but he had to prepare for the worst. Even more ridiculous, the name of this secret organization was Secret Organization. Not exactly creative. Still, Yubai knew that in 50 years they'd control most of the resources and the awakened. Their goal was to create a world dominated by ability users. That mutant beast was probably their work, and they'd likely been watching him for a while. It didn't make sense for them to already exist, which meant they probably had someone from the future, too. The Batmobile arrived at the base. Tang Tang said it was a pretty normal place to have created that mecha car. The big guy remarked that she had some guts coming to a place she knew nothing about. She said she trusted her intuition. Then she told Xiao Hang to hurry up and take out the experiments, saying she was doing it for you. The old man appeared and said it seemed they'd really found a doctor. Tang Tang walked right up and asked if he was the professor who created the mecha and the vehicle. Before he could answer, she said she already knew it was him and that she'd come specifically to hear him out. The doctor commented that he dressed sloppily, but was clearly a mad scientist. Grandpa Jiang was confused, wondering where Yubar had found this crazy girl. But he did recognize the name Professor Tang and knew she was a young genius with a PhD in viruses. She said she was honored, clearly flustered. The old man, meanwhile, wondered how a girl like her had survived. She told him to cut the small talk and said she was there to research the pearls with him. He was impressed she had one and praised her, saying it was amazing she'd created the mecha and the car. She called it Black Gold and asked if he'd come up with that name. Now, Grandpa Sang wasn't sure if he should admit he hadn't created any of it, especially since she seemed to know even less than he did. And as far as he knew, Ye wanted it kept quiet. He spread his arms and told her they could work together because he'd made some new discoveries. But first, she needed to help him with something else. The scene shifted to the medical room where Yuri lay in bed. A while later, Tang came out, and the professor asked how she was doing. Tang took off her mask and asked if he was his granddaughter. The old man said not exactly, but he considered her as such. Tang made a hand gesture, and the old man asked if that meant the girl was okay. Tang said no. The old man asked if that meant she had 3 years left. Tang corrected him and said she had 3 months. She'd seen many people with the same illness and had no idea how the girl was still alive. Her body, she wouldn't accept any treatment in this state. And the worst part was there wasn't much they could do. Tang asked if she was telling him to just accept that the girl was going to die. Tang said maybe they could use that. A while later, Yer began to wake up. She overheard the old man outside asking if they were really going to give her that medicine. Tang said it wasn't exactly that. She was thinking of using the material to create a new kind of medicine. In some tests, she'd noticed the material seemed to emit an energy that could regenerate the surrounding cells. The old man said that was why some people who consumed it went through that transformation. She asked, what kind of idiot would do that? The old man said he'd seen 2 people consume it and become extremely powerful. Tang went quiet for a moment, then said that aside from guaranteed death, she couldn't think of anything else it could cause. She told him to focus on the real problem, making a medicine from the material to help the girl. They didn't have much time, and they also had to make sure she wouldn't turn into a monster. Meanwhile, Xiaoang finally placed the last item on the shelf. Staring at it, he couldn't figure out why she valued this stuff so much. Tang walked in and thanked the big guy. He immediately asked if Yuorn's illness could be cured. She said, with the right idea, maybe. He said he'd go check on Yub, but she told him there was no need. He seemed to be handling things just fine. As he turned to leave, she asked about searching for Yuorn's father. He said they were looking. Tang urged them to find him quickly since it could help with her treatment. Back in the city, Yubi stood on top of a building with the giant robot. The sun blazed down, and he still hadn't found Yuorn's father. He decided to fly around and look for water until he spotted a shopping mall and headed inside. He smashed through the glass and ended up in front of a pool. There was water, sure, but it wasn't drinkable. Then he heard a strange sound and moved toward it. Something rushed past him. He snapped the robot around and fired a laser. Out of nowhere, the creature burst through the wall and lunged at him. The thing was huge, but luckily the robot arms were huge, too. Yubi stared at this new monster and raised his hand to fire again, but the creature knocked him away. He slammed into the wall. He cursed the beast and fired again, but it dodged easily and came at him from the side. Ye threw a punch, but it was too fast and slipped away again. It landed a hit, but Abe grabbed hold of it, yanked it sideways, and slammed it into the ground. He activated the laser again and hit it right in the neck. The monster fell off, and a woman emerged from it. Now, these creatures were shooting lasers, too. Yub froze, shocked. Meanwhile, out on the street, the big guy searched for Yub. He couldn't find him until the drone activated. It was Yub. She asked if they were still outside. He told her to rest and let them handle the searching. She said she couldn't sleep and felt better working with them. He told her fine, but not to push herself too hard. She reactivated the drone and kept searching. Soon she spotted something strange, and the big guy asked what it was. Yub said a weird group of zombies was heading toward the construction area. They wondered if there might be survivors there. Then she saw a girl lying on top of a container. The big guy looked through the camera and said he recognized her. Ye asked how. He said she'd been captured by that guy before, but she escaped at some point and they never saw her again. Yob said they had to help her. The big guy activated the car's claws. Obviously, he plowed through the zombies, cutting them down. The girl on the container looked confused. Yob told her to wait for a chance and jump into the car. Yob Hang kept smashing everything in his path. He pulled up close and shouted for the girl to get in. She jumped into the back and Yob said it was time to go. The girl climbed in slowly, asking who they were. The big guy grinned and said they were the rescue team. Meanwhile, on the other side, Yob was taking a beating as usual. Once again, he slammed into the wall and the monster came in for the finishing blow. Yob covered his face knowing he couldn't look at it. The problem was his face cover had been damaged in the previous fight, so he couldn't use it again. The creature launched an attack that nearly clipped him. He fired another laser, but the damn thing was too fast again. Its tail slammed into him. He fell into the pool like an idiot and realized he'd been careless. He sank into the water as the creature readied another strike. Now he couldn't move. Spikes began to pierce up through the pool, and he wondered if he was going to die there. Then a light flashed, and the creature took a hit to the eye. Man, it was the big guy in the Batmobile, saying the apocalyptic rescue team had arrived. The creature hesitated, confused, then decided to run. But Yob's giant hand snapped out and grabbed its tail. He asked where it thought it was going. He yanked it back into the water, drove a punch into it, and told the big guy that if the creature started looking at him, just blast it with the laser. The big guy said he understood. Before the creature could react, Yob fired a laser into its stomach. The poor thing collapsed, trembling. He grabbed its head and demanded to know what this mutant was doing there. Had the organization sent her to kill him? The girl just stared. He told her to open her mouth, or he'd crush her head. She finally reacted when he mentioned the secret organization. Lena turned desperate, saying she didn't want to go back to that place. The big guy asked how this girl had also turned into a monster. At that moment, the monster recognized the girl in the car and started calling her Lena. Yob told her to stay still or he'd finish her off. Lena got out of the car and asked if the creature was Annie. Under Yob's hand, the creature kept calling out to her. The big guy mentioned to Yob that maybe she was another person transformed by the black material. Lena stepped closer and asked her sister how she'd ended up like this. The girl said an organization had experimented on her. She had no idea how to describe the pain she was in. Yob told Lena to move away. He said he'd end her suffering. Lena begged him not to kill her. Even transformed, she was still her sister. Yura stepped in front of Yubei and asked him to wait. Yurei warned her to get out of his way or he'd smash that drone. Yura pleaded that they had just reunited and he couldn't take her life like that. But Yubei argued that anyone transformed had an extremely unstable mind and it was too dangerous to leave her alive. Still, Lena wouldn't move. She just cried with her sister. "You beg you to at least let them talk and see what happened." Yubei reminded her this creature had nearly killed him and there was no way he'd let her walk away alive. Then the big guy suggested Yubei thank you because if it weren't for her, they wouldn't have arrived in time. With that, Yubei backed off. He released the creature and walked away, calling them a bunch of idiots. The monster stood and asked if they were from the secret organization. You said no. They were just moving through the city looking for survivors. Annie explained that after the transformation, she'd managed to escape, but the organization kept sending giant dogs to hunt her down in this place. Why asked why she'd attacked Yubei. Annie said she'd been scared and thought he was part of the organization. She went to Lena saying it was good to know she was okay and that she had no intention of hurting anyone there. Wai looked relieved and suggested Annie join their group. They were studying zombies nearby, and maybe she could help. Lena asked if both of them could really be part of that. You said it would be a pleasure to help others. The only problem was the monster wouldn't fit in the car. Annie told Lena she'd follow her wherever she went. The big guy asked you if she was sure about bringing a monster like this back to their home. Wai replied that they were just two sisters in danger and helping them was everyone's responsibility. Yurei got into the car and sat down. Seeing that the big guy said that since Yorbi wasn't refusing, it was time to head back. So with the car, the drone, and the monster, they all left. The big guy couldn't believe the creature could move as fast as they did. After a while, they made it back to base. The doctor and Tang froze when they saw the creature and immediately demanded to know what was going on. Lena introduced herself. She said she lived in the east, but when the disaster hit, she and her sister stole a car and drove south. Then, Annie appeared from the creature's head. Lena introduced her too, explaining that Annie had been captured by an organization and turned into an experiment. The old man went pale at the mention of that organization. Tang, on the other hand, thought Annie was adorable. She walked right up, softening her voice, telling her not to be afraid, that she only wanted to touch her a little. The creature flapped its fins, and Tang hesitated. Then the monster edged away and hopped into the pool. Tang frowned, wondering if she was anxious. The big guy asked the obvious question, how had the two of them survived out there with no food, just the two of them? Lena said that for a while, a man had been guiding them, helping them slip past the zombies. Then one day, he vanished, and they'd been waiting there ever since. The big guy leaned in, who was crazy enough to pull that off. Lena said the man gave them clothes smeared with zombie guts and told them it would mask their scent. That was why the zombies never noticed them. The big guy's mind immediately jumped to one person. Could it be Yu's father? Right then, Yu spoke up asking if the man had short hair and if his name was Yao Hiang. Lena said yes, then stared at Yu, realizing she was the girl from before. Us face crumpled. She said Yao Hiang was her father, and then she fainted on the spot. Tang caught her and helped her up, asking why she'd run away from the hospital. The big guy turned to Ye. Why weren't they going back out to look for her father? Ibe said once night fell, it would get even more dangerous outside, and he needed to strengthen his mecha. That was when the old man stepped forward and said it was time Abe gave them a real explanation. Abe always seemed to know everything. The old man didn't understand why he kept so many secrets or what danger there was in telling the truth. The big guy backed him up. If something happened to Abe, none of them would survive without him. Ye went quiet for a beat, then nodded. It was time. He told him he was a traveler from 50 years in the future. The big guy believed him instantly. Now it made sense why Abe never felt like an ordinary person. The old man looked like he'd been struck. What kind of time travel was Abe even talking about? Tang's eyes widened. Humans had survived more than 50 years. Abe said it all started with that pearl, the thing that kicked off the destruction of the world, but also triggered the greatest technological leap they'd ever seen. When they studied its material, they discovered they could send someone's consciousness back into the past. But the person in the past had to be within the activation radius of the item. The old man was horrified. Abe said that was how they managed to return to the beginning of the virus. They couldn't go any earlier than that. After years of analysis, they never found anything else like it on Earth. That was why they believed it came from another world. The big guy's thoughts snapped into place. An alien invasion. Yeeb said if that was true, then the aliens had already won. In less than 50 years, there would be fewer than 10 million people left, and even they would be fighting non-stop just to stay alive. In the end, Yeeb had been chosen to go back and reshape everything. Now the big guy understood why Yeeb had been so obsessed with gathering the material from the start. He asked how old Abe really was. I've said he was probably close to 70 by now. But every time he returned to the past, he always woke up at the first moment he encountered the virus at school. The problem was, even in the past, changing things wasn't easy. The big guy stared at him, stunned. You could write an entire story with that. Who would have thought? Tang asked if they were destined to be companions in the future. Ye said he didn't know, but he hoped so. Xiaoheng looked lost. Why was Abe talking like that? Were more changes coming? Our boy just looked. Ye looked at Tang and said the virus was evolving and she must have noticed. Tang confirmed it. Their survival was already a miracle. The zombie virus wasn't spread by bites. It was airborne. They both shot to their feet, stunned, asking how they hadn't turned. Tang said that was why she liked calling them the chosen ones. Some people seemed to have antibodies that let them resist the airborne virus, but she couldn't guarantee a bite wouldn't still trigger a transformation. I've added that the truth was they'd all been infected a long time ago. In theory, they'd eventually turn into zombies, too. Being immune to the airborne strain didn't mean they couldn't be infected another way. Giza couldn't believe Ibe had kept that hidden for so long. Ibe said he'd stayed quiet because he'd recently confirmed a suspicion. Someone from the future was accelerating the virus's progression. That group was called the Black Order. The scene switched to Zhao. Turns out Zhu was a man after all. Up until now, I'd thought it was a woman. He really did return to normal. I thought the blonde guy was lying to him. Zhou smiled and said that now he was officially a member of the squad. He was thrilled, saying they were incredible. Meanwhile, a white-haired girl watched through a window. Back with Yab, he said that in this timeline, people were transforming into creatures much faster than usual. The first zombie mutation was supposed to happen weeks later, but this time it happened much sooner. And today, he'd run into psychic beasts, creations of the Black Order. He suspected they'd sent agents from the future. The big guy asked why the Black Order had so many weapons and so much knowledge, but didn't seem interested in saving humanity. Ye said the Black Order believed superpowers were a gift from fate. Their goal was to wipe out humanity and leave only ability users. Tang frowned. It all sounded pretty cringe. The old man suddenly remembered something. He said the black box brought had pills inside, and when he analyzed them, he found the same material. It looked like a catalyst for something, and he wondered if it was connected to the Black Order. Yabui said they were probably contaminating people's water with the virus, which would explain why so many were transforming. The big guy mentioned Yura's father's car was full of those items, so maybe he was part of the group. Yabui said they'd investigate that later. For now, the key point was simple. As long as the Black Order existed, humanity wouldn't survive. He pulled out a map and showed the changes he wanted to make to the base to improve their odds if they were attacked. He asked Tang to keep taking care of Yer. Yabai in turn asked if Ye was her brother by any chance. Ye asked if that would be a problem. She said it was just a medical thing. He told her it had nothing to do with that, then told the big guy to go back and help Tang and the old man get everything ready. Back in the room, Yer slowly woke up. She sat up and saw Lena asleep beside her. Then she slipped out and walked down the corridor. In one of the rooms, Tang was saying Yabe didn't seem to be lying about his story. She took a drink and slumped over the table, saying she'd hoped the problems would end, but they were only getting worse. Yura appeared beside her. Tang asked what she was doing there and told her to go back to sleep. But Yura said she couldn't sleep and wanted to go outside for a bit. Tang said everyone was sleeping and soon Yabe would be back to look for her father, so there was no need to worry. Yura said she'd overheard her talking to someone and asked who else was there. Tang said she'd heard right. She pointed at a head and said, "It's him." Yura jumped, asking why she was talking to a zombie. The head belonged to Tang's childhood friend. "A fool," she said. Yura didn't understand, so Tang explained. He was kind-hearted, and she couldn't imagine why he'd wanted to become a doctor. He got rejected countless times, but he kept studying until he finally made it. In the end, he was the only one who stayed by her side. When people at the hospital tried to steal her research, he stood up and told everyone the truth. When the disaster hit, he was the only one who threw himself in front of her. Even while he fought and changed, he kept shielding her. In the end, there were so many pieces on the ground, she couldn't even tell which ones were his. Still, she gathered them up, hoping that someday with future technology, she could put them back together and bring him back. Then she laughed and said she was joking. She knew life wasn't that simple. Uarks asked awkwardly if she'd liked him. Tang admitted that strangely enough, he was the only person who ever touched her heart. Then she told you to go back to sleep because she still needed to talk to Annie later. Meanwhile, outside, Uar went to find Annie. Annie rose from the water and faced her. They stared for a beat. Uar introduced herself and asked how Annie was doing. Annie said she had to stay hidden. She couldn't risk the organization finding her. Uar said what they'd done to Annie's body was cruel and asked if it had hurt. Annie said even thinking about the past gave her chills, but these days she didn't feel anything anymore. Uar fell quiet. Annie studied her and said she could tell you. Was hurting too. She reached out and gently touched her. Uar asked how she could tell. As the monster was about to say, humans are all the same. She suddenly fainted. Annie caught her with her fins and called for Tang. Tang came running panicked. She demanded to know what you was doing out there when she told her to go back to bed. Tang pressed a hand to Yu's head and said, if she kept this up, there'd be no way to save her. Uar only apologized and said she had a request. She wanted the doctor's help to finish the surgery. Meanwhile, Uar was working on Optimus Prime 2.0. At the same time in the city, Uar's father was searching for Annie and Lena. He had no idea where they'd gone and wondered if zombies had attacked them. It didn't make sense. He'd secured the area and there shouldn't have been any creatures nearby. And those massive tire tracks in the street, he couldn't imagine what had made them. Then wings beat overhead. He looked up and saw a dragon flying past. It circled a building and he felt a wave of relief. But in the next moment, a man with a blue beard appeared and said he'd finally found him. Back at the lab, Uar lay inside a tank. Outside, Ye Bei and the old man watched. Zhang said he wasn't sure about using that item to cure her. Ye told him they just needed time for it to take effect. He'd extracted the right portion of the pearl's energy, and as long as Tank followed the formula, it would go smoothly. There could be side effects, but at least she'd live. The old man asked if they'd run this experiment many times in the future to know all this. Ye said the cure was called the elixir of immortality, sold to the elite back then. It worked for treating disease, but eternal life was still a mystery. It didn't last long. The old man said a name like that made it sound even more believable. Ye said this was their last conservative option. After that, they'd have to use the material completely and see what happened. The old man nodded. Now it all made sense. That was why Xiao Hang was back out on the streets searching for her father. He warned Lena the place was crawling with zombies and told her to watch the right side. She started deploying the drone, apologizing because she wasn't used to it. Keeping up with all the camera feeds was hard, and she called herself a bit of an airhead. That's what she told herself. Johong told her to stay focused. They'd find Yuer's father soon. Lena suddenly said she'd spotted someone who looked Like him, on the street ahead of the drone, a hooded man sprinted for his life, fleeing a pack of rank 1 zombies. His cloak wasn't working, so he ripped it off and tossed it. A grenade attached to it detonated right in front of the swarm. It didn't matter. The zombies kept walking through the flames. Then a laser sliced through 1 zombie and 2 more with it. Xiao Heng drifted hard and stopped right in front of the man who stared at them. Stunned, the big guy swung the car door open and asked if he was Yao Yu Unk's father. The man looked confused, but our bald friend snapped at him to get in. No time to explain. He'd just been saved and the streets were a death trap, so he climbed in. The car tore off. From a distance, the blue-bearded man watched it all. He asked the blonde guy if he was really going to let the man get away that easily. The blonde said they were part of a special group, so they had to be cautious and take this seriously. The blue-bearded man scoffed. His style was showing up and smashing everything, not playing with little tricks. The blonde reminded him they didn't have that luxury. They had very few people left. That was thanks to the girl who'd used a horde of zombies to attack their base, only to get them all killed. The blue-bearded man found it strange. A girl with an ability high enough to command 1,000 zombies, and she still lost to that base. The blonde said it was a sad situation. They couldn't revive any of the zombies they'd lost. Meanwhile, the car pulled into the base. Zong rushed out worried and asked if it was really a Pang. Yura's father said it had been a long time and apologized for causing so much trouble. Old Zong told him they should thank the heavens he was still alive. Then he sent him inside to take a bath while they checked on the girl. The scene shifted to a Pang terrified. Seeing Yura inside a capsule, he demanded to know what happened. The grandfather explained that when Zhou Heng brought her in, she was fine, but lately she'd been getting worse. What made it worse was that she'd been pushing herself to the limit trying to find her father. A pen crumpled, saying he should have come back sooner. The old man told him to calm down. There was still a lot to uncover. He handed Aang a box and asked where it came from. A Pang knew they'd found it in his car, but he had no idea what it was. Zong asked how he got it. A Pang said he'd been in contact with a man named Loro from a group called the Black Group. At first, it looked like a charity. Loro gave him these drugs supposedly to help Yuari, and he never imagined the truth behind them. The old man asked if Aang was part of the group and what the drugs were really for. A Pang said the drugs had caused several emergencies across the city. When he realized what the organization was, he wanted out. He kept working with them anyway, hoping he could eventually escape and make it back to Yuri. But when he finally ran and tried to return, a horde surrounded him, and still this happened to her. He said he'd always taught Yuri to spread love and kindness, yet he'd been helping the wrong people. He broke down, calling himself an incompetent father. That's when Tang walked in and told him Yuri was still alive, still fighting. Then she told him to donate blood since he was her biological father. No one else there could donate. He was their only hope. Hapang immediately held out his arm and told her to take as much as she needed. The doctor cheered, saying it was a good thing he had arrived, or she would have had to use that material on the girl. The father looked confused, then shouted that he wouldn't allow it. The doctor couldn't understand why, and Zhang asked what he thought he knew. Aang said he wasn't sure, but the organization was planning a massive experiment. Their target was the entire city of Ani, and countless lives would be lost. Zhang said it didn't matter. Most of the population was already dead, so there weren't many people left to lose. The father insisted they couldn't use the material on the girl no matter what. Zhang argued it was the only way to fight those guys, and besides they had nowhere to run. Aang panicked and said they had to get out of there fast. He bolted saying he'd grab you and leave. Then someone struck him on the back of the neck. Yep told him to shut up. A Pindu crumpled to the floor out cold. Ye turned back, collect the blood, start the surgery. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, completely intact, something else was unfolding. Inside a bar sat Bluebeard. A long-haired guy asked how they'd all ended up in the secret group. Bluebeard said he only joined because all his companions had died and he was left alone. The blonde guy beside him said he needed to protect the people he still had. The man at the counter nodded, saying he got it and that if they could become new partners, it would be incredible. He just expected more people in this so-called secret group. Bluebeard told him not to worry. There were plenty of members they were out recruiting. The blonde guy said he was curious what kind of society the superhumans would build. They didn't need to eat, could switch into combat mode, and weren't even afraid of zombies. Still, he felt it would be hard to get people to unite now. Bluebeard agreed. For now, they'd wait for the consultant's responses, but the blonde guy asked if it was really okay to keep getting information from someone from the future. Bluebeard didn't hesitate. It was the best option because she knew everything that was going to happen. He told the guy, Yuang, that the consultant had said this blonde guy would become very strong in the future. Yuang shot back that if also came from the future, why wasn't he interested in becoming a superhuman? Now that I've realized it, guys, this Yuang is that blonde friend of the protagonist from the beginning, the one who turned into the albino beast. Bluebeard said Yubit wasn't doing so well. He was a coward who couldn't stand other people's success. But the blonde guy said the last time he saw Yubit, he was nothing like he remembered. Bluebeard laughed. At least whoever wronged Yubri in the future would probably pay for it in this life. But one thing was certain. They'd have to kill Yubli. He was getting in the way. Someone clapped and said he'd heard everything he needed. It was the blonde guy with the hat. He said the world Yubei wanted to create was completely different from theirs. For now, they were still trying to inspire the boy to change him. But if he refused, then obviously they'd kill him. Everyone in that room had been born from the black gold. They'd abandoned their old bodies and accepted a new rebirth. Now they needed to dive even deeper into the mysteries of that item to gain a power their race had never seen. They even had a little slogan: the Shadow Squadron was eternal. These bastards also had 30 different names for God's sakes. Back at the base, the big guy was half asleep while our boy worked on the car. He asked Yubit about his friends from the future. If they were younger back then, they had to be kids now. Yubei said the present and the future had changed. Whether those friends were still alive was anyone's guess, and in this life, he might never meet them again. The big guy asked how he planned to rebuild the organization he wanted. Yub said he didn't need specific allies. He needed people who shared the same vision. Xiaoheng frowned, confused, and asked what vision that was. Yub explained that the goal was to eradicate the black gold and the supernatural people and restore the proper order to humanity. The big guy said those were simple things to explain, but extremely difficult to achieve. Yub explained what had happened to future generations who become dependent on the black gold. To maintain their powers, they created zombie concentration camps where people were transformed to generate more material. The problem was under a regime like that, the number of people kept shrinking and those with supernatural powers didn't want to fight. His group was the last of the rebels still trying to oppose the regime. Xiaoheng remarked that for someone who wanted to eliminate black metal, Yub was pretty good at using it to build things. Yub said that to eliminate it, you had to understand it first. Once the enemies were wiped out, they'd destroy any equipment they'd made. Xiaoheng said it was impressive. Yubei lived by such a serious philosophy. Yub told him not to praise him too much. If it weren't for his allies from the future, he would have given up a long time ago. And if it weren't for the people who saved his life, he'd already be a zombie. Sometime later, Eng woke up in the upstairs room. He said the weather had been strange lately. Zhao Hang said they should at least be glad the rain had eased up, but Eng asked if they really weren't going to escape that place. Xiao Hang said that based on what Yabi had told them, the group had already spread across the entire world, so running anywhere was pointless. Eng said he knew Yabi wanted to stay and that maybe the way he'd raised her had made her too innocent. Xiao Hang replied that after everything she'd been through, she could make her own decisions and think for herself. She was stronger than he'd imagined, and she was the one who'd asked for the surgery. Eng said he knew, but he couldn't help worrying. Zhao Hang said he used to worry about his own son the same way, so much that they fought. His son ran away and cut contact, and only after his son disappeared did Zhao Hang realize they'd never forgiven each other. Apang asked if his son was still alive. Zhao Hang said he didn't know. It was still a mystery, especially since he knew the boy wouldn't want to see him. But they had to leave the past where it belonged. It was time to end this storm. Meanwhile, outside the base, a giant robot stomped across the ground. Man, our boy had built Optimus 2.0. The big guy stared in shock, saying this had to be the ultimate mecha. Eng said that if the guy from the faction wanted to find him, he'd make sure that wish came true. He wasn't about to let him spread so easily. He extended his arm Iron Man style to the big guy and said his job was to hold down the fort while he was gone. Don't worry, anyone who showed up would be eliminated. Yay. Bei told him to keep taking good care of Yor. The big guy agreed. Pang activated the thruster and flew off. The fool just stood there watching, saying it was amazing. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, the blonde guy watched it all. The whole group was watching, and they knew it was Yubei. It was insane. He'd built a machine like that in such a short time. The consultant really didn't know how to pick the best people, and now it was time to start the plan. Bluebeard, practically vibrating, said he couldn't contain his excitement. The blonde guy told him to start the show. The creature transformed. His hand turned red. Something burst from his back, and he became a flying horned monster. Then he took off, and it was bad news if he was heading for the base. Inside, Aang was running experiments. Zhang spoke to Yu's father through the computer, saying Janang's compatibility was perfect. Pang then thanked him and said that before he would have had to work his whole life to afford surgery like this. It looked like they were going to do a stem cell transplant. Pang said he didn't know how to repay them, but Jin told him to focus on the cameras and watch for enemy attacks. Hey, Pang agreed and went back to searching. Suddenly, a purple energy ball flew in and exploded above the base. The whole place shook. Of course, it was the transformed Bluebeard hung in the sky. He stretched out his hand again and launched a second attack. The place seemed protected by a barrier, but everything inside still trembled. Zhang wondered if someone was attacking the base. Pang said there was nothing in front of it, and the other cameras weren't working. Meanwhile, the big guy had already run to the car, warning everyone there was a giant winged monster throwing fireballs. With a surprise attack like that, it had to be that strange organization. Xiaohang immediately told them to open the gate so he could go out and deal with it. Zhang agreed, but told him to be careful. The gate opened, and he drove out. From the roof, the new torpedoes our boy had installed started firing. The big guy said the enemy would pay for daring to attack the old man's base. The laser fired, and Bluebeard jerked in surprise. The bastard barely dodged it, but the next volley was already coming. Meanwhile, Ye Bei was flying far from there. It felt wrong that the communicators had gone out like he was entering territory controlled by those guys. He'd have to be ready to go all out. Then he felt something. He veered aside and dodged an attack. Several robots stood on the ground made from black metal. He recognized them immediately as Black Guild work. So now he was sure someone had come from the future. He fired a laser, but the creature defended itself. Ye Bei had to admit they already had that kind of tech. He shot up, stomped on the creature's head, and punched another robot. The Transformer-style battle was on. He dodged another strike, pulled out a claw, and drove it into one of them in the chest. As soon as the first one fell, he looked up and saw 5 more coming. Why were there so many? How long had these people been back from the future? He answered with a barrage of missiles. They hit dead on. 4 exploded in the sky, and he finished. Another with a laser. Back at the base, the big guy kept trying to tag Bluebeard, but the thing just kept dodging. The long-haired guy asked if they were going to invade the base now. Loro confirmed it, but said the guy was spooked by the electric fences and the poisonous gas. They would enter, just not yet. If they rushed it, they'd be wiped out. That was expected. That's why Loro had other plans. The Pang suddenly warned everyone that the big guy seemed to have scared off the winged creature. He asked if you were okay and how the surgery was going. Then something appeared on his